Recording in progress.
All right.
Sure to be down there.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Superior Town Council, the Superior Metropolitan District Number 1 Board of Directors, and the Superior Liquor Authority for Monday, July 14th, 2025. Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Shannon?
Mayor Mark Lasis,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jason Serbu,
Here.
Councilmember Heather Craycraft,
Here.
Councilmember Mike Foster,
Here.
Councilmember Jen Cowish,
Here.
Councilmember Stephanie Miller,
Here.
Councilmember Neil Shaw.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we're all here. Up next is item 2C, which is approval of the agenda. Any council members like to make any changes to the agenda? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Yeah, I want to pull 5D.
Okay. Any additional changes? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve with 5D pulled.
So moved.
All right, we got a motion from Councilmember Shaw,
Second.
second from Councilmember Craycraft, and roll call vote.
Councilmember Craycraft,
Yes.
Councilmember Cowish,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Mayor Lasis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Serbu,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
All right, passes unanimously, and we're on to, we left off Mike.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, we're on to item number 2D, which is our council reports. Who wants to go first tonight?
I will. Nothing to report.
All right,
I'll follow that one. Nothing to report.
okay.
I'll go to finish up this side. Just a couple of quick things. One, just wanted to thank staff for the 4th of July. That was really, really great and felt like it was more well-attended than in years past, which it's always really well-attended. So just very impressed, and I'm sure it's like herding cats, so please pass along our gratitude for that. Just to remind everybody of some upcoming events, this Wednesday is the second summer market. It's going to be from 5 to 8 p.m. Downtown, so really, really fun. Last month, if everybody didn't get a chance to go see that, the really great vendors and lots to do and music and the whole thing. So please make sure to attend that because it's a really good time. And then again on Wednesday at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall, Park is going to have their meeting here this next week, and it's going to be focused on community Park and the design there. So just a reminder, any residents who want to give feedback to Park about what they like, don't like, would like to see there, please make sure to attend that. Bless you. And then finally on Saturday from 9 to 10 at the community center is Chat with the Chief, and just again a really great opportunity to learn what's going on in the neighborhood and how to stay safe. That's it for me.
Thank you, Stephanie. Mike?
I'll just add my kudos to Leslie and Michaela for putting on just a fantastic 4th of July parade and celebration. Great event, well attended, well organized, well run. And I got to spend a little bit of time working the park booth and talking to residents. And there are a lot of new people that have moved into Superior, and they call it a hidden gem in the Denver metro region, which is why they've chosen to live here. So kudos to town staff for making this place just a wonderful place for people to move into and live and participate in our community. So that's my update. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Heather?
No report.
All right. Jason?
Well, thanks, guys, because this is going to be a longer one. So, yeah, I just want to address, as everybody's aware, if you live in the town of Superior, there's a lot of overflights going over the town from RMMA, and I just wanted to address what those are, how we got here, and what we can do going forward to kind of help. The FAA is, through the air traffic control through the FAA, is trying out a new pattern of ingress and egress to the northern and eastern training grounds and ingress back to the airport. And Nancy, if you could zoom in a little bit as much as you can, kind of wanted to. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Hopefully people can see this. About a month ago, they decided to try a pattern where the planes are taking off. They cross the entirety of the town of Superior from South Rock Creek to North Rock Creek to downtown, over Old Town, and over Sagamore, heading to where you see this, my finger's on it, this star shape, which is basically the two smokestacks up in Boulder, which is the old Xcel Energy plant. And the idea behind this is, as a VFR reference, have the planes fly to this, and then once they get to that point, either go north to Longmont or go east to Erie. The one issue, I mean, obviously this is bringing noise all the way across the entirety of the town. The one thing this is doing is exacerbating the amount of air traffic we're having over the entirety heading north. If we go back to 2003, actually July, I've got the date wrong, it's June, but July of 2023, this was the pattern I recommended for air traffic control to try to implement as the new touch and go pattern. And this is something that they are currently doing right now. They are being able to navigate a turn at the level 3 as their VFR, turning over the Coyote Ridge open space and not hitting the town as much as they possibly can. And in addition to this pattern working, they are actually reducing the number of planes in a pattern to 2 to 4. It used to be 8, now it's 4. They've cut that in half. So the touch and go pattern is working. It's a really good sign. However, the egress pattern is basically deleting any advantages we're having from that. This is the pattern that I created back in July of 2023 for the ingress-egress routes. Basically taking off from 30 left, you would turn to a north right heading, and you would go past the side of our town. The majority of areas underneath that flight path are non-residential, and you don't get to residential areas in Louisville until you're at least 1,000 feet above terrain, which is something the FAA has always stood by as a proper altitude. Stark difference between these two plans, as you can see, one is heading straight north, avoiding the town of Superior. The other one is not avoiding the town of Superior. This one, for some reason, everybody is thinking that I created this and this is my, what is it online? This is my baby. This is nothing at all what I created for this town. This is what I proposed to the FAA. And this is what I would love to propose to the FAA again. And this is something that I want to make crystal clear, that the egress pattern that I'm presenting right now gives us a 2.5 mile separation from the ingress coming in. So any flight safety issues should be mitigated. And there's been a lot of discussion, and some of it nice, most of it not nice, and why I decided, or I declined to vote in favor of the appeal to litigation. Simply put, we can't get to the air traffic control to talk about this. We can't sit down with them. They will not have a discussion with us while there's litigation ongoing. And I'm not here to litigate this. I'm not here to talk about this. I'm not here to debate this. The reason why I voted no is because I think there's an opportunity to get in front of air traffic control and push this narrative that you don't need to fly over the entirety of the town for a safe egress route. The safe egress route is to head north after the VFR turning at level 3, and then you've got nothing but non-residential below you. You take off over the town of Superior, it's a high-density residential population. If there's an emergency landing procedure that has to take place, you don't have much of an option. About 3 weeks ago, I noticed a plane that was flying over original town, and it was at 300 feet. I put it on the flight tracker, and I called the individuals that I've been working with in the flight community, and I asked them if they could tell me some information about the plane. And he said, with that plane in its current configuration, if it is fully passengered with 4 people, 3 plus the pilot, has a full tank of fuel, it is not going to be more than 300 feet by the time it's over the town of Superior. And especially it gets this far north over the town, residential areas in downtown and Old Town. So what that gives me some pause on is that, we're trying to develop economically as a town, and flight paths that are increasing air traffic over downtown and over Brixmore are going to be a concern. So I just want to emphasize that I have never stopped working on this issue from day one when I got appointed a few years ago until now. This has always been front and center of my conscience to trying to get this solved. I do realize that we may have less than a couple of weeks before air traffic control makes a decision on the validity of this new pattern, whether it stays or whether it gets modified further. I'm going to continue to work with everybody I possibly can to get in that door with the flight schools, with the aviation community, with CABA. Hopefully I can get a meeting with AOPA, but there has to be a way for this town to be able to come out of this situation where it's for the better and not for the worse. You know, the daytime touch and go pattern is better than it was. It's going to work, but it pretty much gets negated by the egress patterns going to the north. So that's going to be front and center on my radar, no pun intended, but I'm going to be focusing on this for the next few weeks and next few months to see if we can't get this settled. So that's where we are. That's why the patterns are happening the way they are. And I just don't think that's something that we're going to be sitting down and just accepting. I think we're going to keep pushing to try to get in the door and have a conversation to see what's best for us. So that's the only thing I wanted to talk about tonight. So thank you guys for your patience on that.
Thanks, Jason. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. I also want to extend my thanks and appreciation to town staff for a wonderful 4th of July downhill mile, parade, pancake breakfast, barbecue. The weather was great. It wasn't too hot. 6,000 pancakes were served. So each year, it seems like we continue to improve upon the previous kind of year's festivities, and it's just always just a great opportunity for the community to come together. So really appreciate staff's work on organizing that. It's just a great tradition for our community, and I know that everybody appreciates it. Similarly, I attended the summer concert series this past Saturday. That also now is a new tradition of this community, and another just example of just town staff just hitting the ball out of the park with delivering just an awesome opportunity for the community to gather. Everybody loves live music outdoors in the summertime, and we've turned the Superior Commons Park into a destination now, and people just really love it, and the music was great. So I'm very appreciative to Michaela for putting that together. And staff for supporting it. A couple additional things that I just wanted to note. This past Thursday, I attended the Rocky Mountain Part 150 open house. I know Neil was there as well. I'm not sure if any of you all had the opportunity to stop by. This was just kind of an introductory meeting that the consultants that were hired by the airport to help them prepare the Part 150 study just kind of introduced what the process is going to look like and tried to, I think, communicate to the public and kind of level set what the expectations are in terms of what the Part 150 study is going to do and what it can't do. There was definitely, members of the public who showed up who were there to complain about the noise from the airport, understandably. And I think that the consultants were there and were professional and responsible and respectful, and heard them out. But they had a bunch of helpful kind of infographics around the room that kind of explain what the process is going to look at, how long it's going to take, what the recommendations could do in the future, and also kind of set forth what the timeline is going to be. So this is going to be a process that's going to take the better part of the next 2 years for the Part 150 to be conducted, and then ultimately a lot of it depends on interaction with the FAA. So there are certain aspects of it that the consultants are driving the process, but then they need the sign off from the FAA. And in this day and age, with uncertainty in Washington, it's hard to kind of rely on what a reasonable turnaround is going to be from the Part 150. But I think it's good that the FAA signed off on the Part 150 and is showing that there's attention that needs to be placed on this problem. And I'm cautiously optimistic that with the work that's performed and the data that's gathered, that we'll at least have some answers to some of the questions that are open for now. So definitely recommend at the next open house that the consultants have for the Part 150 process that people stop by and ask the questions. And they had an opportunity also to give feedback and kind of write down questions on a note card and give it to the consultants as well. So take advantage of that next time that gets scheduled. One thing I just wanted to also give kudos to town. I'm not exactly sure where this came from, but it's a great idea, and I really like it. But somebody within the comms team is posting kind of fun with finance factoids on social media. Is that your idea? Okay, I didn't know that was your idea. That's a great idea. I think it's just a great opportunity for us to be transparent and to just explain, this is what a mile of road costs. This is what this costs, and we spend a lot of money from the taxpayers, and obviously we go through an open and transparent process with our budget meetings. But a lot of it gets lost in the shuffle of all of the things that we do. So highlighting, especially right now with all the road projects that we're doing right now, they're very expensive. We want to make sure that we're being mindful of the expenses. And I think it's always a good opportunity to try to be transparent and communicate. So good on you, Jen, for suggesting it. And thanks. Well, thanks to staff for implementing it, because I think it's a great, and even if you get some trolling from the public, which is inevitable in this day and age, I think the service that it actually performs and just kind of like explaining, like, this is what a playground costs, this is what a road costs, this is what our pools cost, is, I think, educational for the public. So let's keep that up. I think it's great. A couple announcements. Yeah, so our summer market is this Wednesday from 5 to 8 p.m. in downtown. And this is also only our only meeting in July, so we'll be back in August with our next meeting, second week of August. And that's all I've got. Town Manager, Magley.
Nothing to report tonight.
Town Attorney.
Nothing here.
All right, and our Town Clerk.
Nothing for me.
All right. We're moving on to item 2E, which is public comment on our consent agenda, presentations, and non-agenda items. If you'd like to make public comment and you're here in the council room, we've got a sign-in sheet at the desk. Please give your first and last name and the community in which you reside. We take public comment for 5 minutes per person, first come, first serve. If you're participating via Zoom, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and we'll call on you in the order in which we see your hand raised. We do have a public hearing tonight, so if you're here to give public comment on the annexation and rezoning of the Turnbull property, we ask that you hold your public comment until we get to that section of the agenda. But other than that, Mr. Kuffner.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Town Manager, I don't know, I've been a water guy for like 30 years, know a little bit about it. I noticed that we're putting that big water line in, which is great. Except they put 2 sections in, and then they started their third section down the hill. And everything looked like it was going pretty good to me, and then all of a sudden it's all covered up. Then all of a sudden it's all dug back up. And I see a check on the fire hydrant to see if we got any leaks in it. Well, we had to have leaks, otherwise I wouldn't have redug it. Most companies put in that much pipe. They're made to inspect it before it's buried, not after. So now it was installed, dug up, and I don't know how many leaks we had, but every time you cut a pipe and you put a splice in it, it becomes the weakest point of the pipe. And like us, that's plastic pipe. It should last 100 years. They don't make plastic connections for broken plastic pipe. You got to use a cast iron sleeve and cast iron mega lugs, and it's available to electrolysis and just, it don't last as long. The plastic is a way better deal. I don't know if you guys are aware that we put it in and dug it out, but I am, because I seen the meter checker on there, and it had to be expensive to dig it back out. So I don't know if you guys know about this. I'd like to get some information on it. I mean, that's awfully expensive to dig back out a 1/4 mile pipe. And then if you had to dig the whole thing out, how many splices do we put in it? 1, 2, 4, 6? It's a little bit of an art coming down a hill with a pipe that big. If you don't do it just right, you roll the gasket, and then we have leaks. So I'd like to know, because that's a lot of money. And it seems like an inspector should have caught this way before it got buried. So for us supposedly having an inspector of the year for like 8 years in a row, how can you miss that? I mean, that's basic. I don't care if you're doing a repair or what. You always charge that line and you check for leaks. You don't cover it up and then redig it. That's asinine. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And especially dumb if we've got to pay for it. So that's the other thing. Who's going to pay for this redig? That's expensive. So I want an answer on this when I come up here and talk and ask you guys for answers, and I never get an answer. It's like I'm talking to that wall. I want an answer on this. This is very important. Who's paying and why it was allowed to go that far? Now, did they inspect the other 2 sections they put in, or did they just put that in and we're going to check it at the end? You know, that's a pretty good sized project to be able to go that far without testing the water line. Nobody's that good. You need to check it. If you got a leak, you find it quick enough. You don't got to cut your pipe and put a splice in it. You pull it apart, put a new gasket in it, you relube it, figure out what the problem was, and you put it back together. And then it lasts. It keeps repair guys from having to be on call all the time. So I'd like a written deal on this, if you guys don't mind, from the staff. I don't care from who, but something that I can physically hold and read. I do have some more, but we'll save that for August.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Any additional comment here in the council room? All right, seeing none, I'll turn to Zoom. Anybody on the Zoom like to give public comment? Brad Walker?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening. Apologize for not being able to be there in person. Wanted to comment after watching and listening to Mr. Serbu. I have to tell you that once again, what you're seeing with no seat at the table is a result of this litigation. It's exactly that. It's playing out exactly as I've mentioned to the town board and as you should have expected. At the end of the day, any change is going to require some cooperation and communication with the airport community, the aviation community, and your constituents. And right now, your hands are so tied behind your back. And given the lack of leadership over the issue with the airport over the last few years, you're seeing it play out in the fact that changes are taking place and you have no seat at the table, which is absolutely not what you want to have happen. Kudos to Mr. Serbu. I commend him for his efforts. I think he's showing leadership, and I certainly hope that the town board can look at his efforts that he's putting forth with the airport and adopt some of those efforts and turn your backs on suing the airport and the pilots. Now, to give you an idea, I talked with the airport the airport director and other folks. This Part 150 noise study, if it comes back, it won't, but hypothetically, if it did come back that showed there was a noise problem, it frees up FAA money, which allows the airport to go and buy property in Rock Creek. So it's theoretically possible that based upon the outcome of the Part 150 noise study, the airport could purchase available properties that are close to the airport and severely impacted by noise. Again, this is hypothetical, but it has been done before. When I lived in San Jose, San Jose International had a noise problem right on the other side of 880, freed up hundreds of millions of dollars, and basically the city of San Jose and the FAA bought up all those properties. They condemned them and bought them up and then basically moved everybody out, and now it's just a park. I'm not suggesting that's what's going to happen here, but hypotheticals when I propose hypotheticals, they are based in reality and my experience of things that have happened in the past, which is to say, the board needs to show some leadership, follow Mr. Serbu's lead on this, and get rid of this lawsuit so that we can get back to trying to make some cooperative, positive change in the community. Have a good evening.
Thanks for your comments. Any additional public comment on Zoom? All right, seeing none. Public comment is closed, and we are moving on to our project updates. And starting off, we've got an update on the Rock Creek Parkway construction project, Indiana 88th.
Yes, good evening,
Welcome,
Council.
Brandon.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I do have the plans. I don't plan to roll through them, but I'll put them on the screen in case there's any questions. The last update we gave on this project was May 27th. We had the 98% plans for review and we walked through them. During that time, we were still waiting on the geotech testing. So in order to expedite this project following the bond proceeds and initiating design in late March, we kept moving forward with design while we waited on the geotech findings. We engaged CMT Technical Services to do the geotech on the project. We did a number of borings on Rock Creek Parkway from Indiana Street to 88th Street at 5-foot depths. As part of those borings, it took approximately 8 weeks to get the borings completed after they mobilized crews, do traffic control, and then to get the lab results, which took a little while because they did a lot of testing on the subgrade below the roads. The main test that took the longest was the swell testing in the geotech report. So that geotech report came in on June 2nd, which was actually the same day we advertised the project for bid. The geotech report had some results that we weren't anticipating, some of which we were anticipating, some of which we were not. So first off, there's no existing subgrade below the majority of asphalt pavement in Rock Creek, which we were not surprised to find. That's been the case throughout Rock Creek Parkway. The asphalt thicknesses range from 7 to 10 inches. The 7-inch thickness is lower than what we've seen in other sections of Rock Creek Parkway, and that was one of the bigger concerns that came up. The swell potential of the soil ranged from a low of 0.1% to 1.6%. So the town maximum allowable is 1% in general, especially for new construction. So once we got those results, the geotech expressed concerns regarding a deep mill and overlay and recommended two options, really, kind of a full depth reconstruction like we've been doing on the majority of roads, and then a pulverization of the asphalt where they basically pulverize the asphalt and the subgrade in place and use the asphalt to create really a subgrade for the road and then pave on top of it. Shortly after we got that report, we scheduled a call with the design team and the geotech and talked through options. And the decision was made by staff based on the concerns from the design team and geotech to pull the bid, which was for a 4-inch mill and overlay. And I agree with that decision. Several items were behind that decision. The biggest was the thinner sections of asphalt where we had a 7-inch thick section in some places. We were planning to do a 4-inch mill, so that would have left about 3 inches of asphalt there. We have found that a lot of the asphalt has gotten soft, especially the bottom layers. So there was a project in 2010, 2011. I wasn't here. I don't think many of you were on council. Maybe Neil and Mark, y'all been around forever. They did a section on Indiana Street where they actually did a mill about 2 to 3 inches. And during construction, the asphalt equipment fell through the remaining layers of asphalt and had to be pulled out and had to do a full reconstruct, which was costly and resulted in several delays. That was Indiana Street between Christie and Colton, from what I've been told. So based on that risk of the deep mill, that was one concern. The other concern was the swell potential of the soils. As you drive Rock Creek Parkway, we haven't had a lot of heaving in the roadway itself. You can see it, you can't feel it. If you drive Flatiron Crossing down the mall, that's where you feel heaving. You feel like you're on a roller coaster. So we don't have that on Rock Creek. But when we do that milled out section of asphalt, we leave 2 or 3 inches. If it happens to rain or we get precipitation while it's exposed, that could get into the subgrade and could result in water getting in there. And water is the main concern with these soils and where we get heaving. When you expose this clay soil to, it gets wet and dries out. So based on those findings and the recommendations of the design team, we decided to pull the project for bid. We're actively working with the geotech and design engineer to finalize a revised design for the roadway section. We actually had a meeting last Thursday. The additional design costs for this should be minimal. We've already paid for the geotech. We have engaged the geotech to give us a subgrade design and a asphalt design based on what they found. So our goal of this is that we could get findings from the geotech that recommends a thinner subgrade or thinner asphalt than we've used typically on new construction. The goal would be to still get a 20, 25-year design life out of the roadway, and there are design calculations for this. This isn't rocket science or anything new. This is very common. So based on those findings, we can come up with an asphalt design and design the subgrade and the asphalt specific for what we're finding in this section of roadway. So that geotech's already engaged to do that at no additional cost. The design team, there should be no additional cost for the design of this section. So if you look at the design drawings, when we lay out the asphalt replacement, it just calls out for a deep mill and overlay. If you look at Rock Creek McCaslin, it calls out for a full depth reconstruction. So the real change is in the specifications, which are town specs. So the design cost should be minimal, if any, maybe a couple $1,000s to write some additional specifications, something like that. So we're not going to be incurring additional design costs due to this change. If we do, it'll be minimal, as I mentioned. Another thing we'd like to do as we move into 2026, we delayed this project. We could have quickly revised the plans, pulled out a full depth replacement, but I wanted to get that design done for the proper section to make sure we're not spending any additional dollars we don't have to. The other concern was it is a longer construction window to do the full depth reconstruction or pulverization, either way. And we would have really been pushing that window to get it paved before August. We get our first snow on average here right around Halloween, toward the end of August. And the asphalt plants generally close once the temperatures drop. So we didn't want to be in a situation where we didn't have pavement down and we have cold weather, asphalt plants closing. So that was the major concern. So what staff recommends and what we'd like to do is pull this project for 2026, as we've mentioned, and also combine this with the next section of Rock Creek Parkway, which will be from Honey Creek Lane to Colton Road. We haven't done the design for that section yet, but we're ready to initiate that now. Combining these two sections of road under a single contract, we would hope would reduce costs overall. One of the major concerns we had with Rock Creek McCaslin, a lot of the feedback we got was the project wasn't big enough for the asphalt providers, so we didn't get a lot of bids. By combining these two sections, we're almost doubling the scope of work, and I think we'll get a lot more interest, especially from the large paving companies and contractors who have historically done this work for town, Brannan, Asphalt Specialties, Mark Marietta, et cetera. So we'd like to combine these two projects with Honey Creek Lane to Colton section of Rock Creek Parkway. I included some rough cost estimates. We had a call with the engineer Thursday after I published this. Their cost estimate was a little bit higher than mine, about 10% higher on average than my cost. I based my cost on our asphalt paving project from 2024, which was awarded to Asphalt Specialties that did Rock Creek Parkway to Indiana. I removed the xeriscaping because we're not planning to do xeriscaping and came up with a linear footage and square yardage costs and added that to this section. We could see increased costs because it's been 2 years from 2024 to 2026, but at the same time, I anticipate a thinner asphalt or subgrade section, or both, with this design from the geotech and engineer, which I think would make up for any inflationary costs we might see. So I estimated Rock Creek Parkway from Indiana to 88th with a reconstruct and roundabout to be around $3 million. The design engineer was closer to 3.4, 3.5. I estimate Honey Creek Lane to Colton to be about 2.2. They were closer to 2.5 based on their estimate I found on Thursday. We're also hoping to do Indiana Street next year. I know that's a bond project. We'll be looking at it as part of the budget. So I am looking at all three of these projects with Leslie and looking at the pools and community park to see what we can do with the bond proceeds we have. And think we can do Indiana Street as well from West Torreys to McCaslin, though we're not ready to make that decision tonight by any means. That'll be part of the budget process. I'll stop and open up for questions. I'm going to talk about schedule a little bit too, but wondering if you have any questions about the decision, the findings, cost estimates, or anything.
I appreciate the presentation, Brandon, and I think that this was the right call to make under the circumstances. So I like when we have staff that doesn't just kind of blindly say, like, we got to make this happen if it's not necessarily the smart decision to do. And I think we could have rushed this and ended up with a bigger problem on our hands than figuring out how to do this right. And I think that that's the critical thing. So I went back and looked at it, and I know that we emailed, but back and forth on this a little bit, but just for the benefit of the rest of the council and also for the public. So back in March, when we were looking at the initial designs for Rock Creek Parkway from 88th to Indiana, including the roundabout, we had kind of one option was the deep mill and overlay, which was milling 4 inches of asphalt, and that was $2.25 to $3 million estimated. And then the reconstruction was removing 9 inches of asphalt, and that was estimated at $4 million. So now your budget estimate is, $3 million. So can you just kind of explain where the difference is between the previous March roundabout design presentation of $4 million versus today where you're closer to 3?
Yeah, and those were based on the engineer's estimate at the time. So we also got an engineer's opinion of probable construction costs with the bid documents for the design project we presented in May, and their cost estimate was about 2.2 and some change, between 2.2 and 2.3 with the deep mill and overlay. So slightly less than the estimate from March, but in the same ballpark. So those estimates in March came from the design engineer. What I did is I used the actual costs we spent on the 2024 project and look at the exact costs. And in that section, we did a full depth reconstruction with the flash treated subgrade, just like we want to do here. We also did a 9-inch asphalt section, except in the bike lanes, we did a 5-inch asphalt section, if you recall, on that project. I'm thinking, based on the call with the geotech and some numbers I've done the asphalt calculations, I think we'll be around a 5 or 6 inch thick section of asphalt and still get a 20, 25 year design life. They're doing the calcs now, so we'll see what they come back with, and that's what we'll ultimately use. So that's where I got the reduced cost savings versus the $4 million. I did also apply a little bit of a cost savings with the larger scope of work. What we saw with when we make these projects bigger, we tend to get more bids. This has been a tough year estimating. I mean, early in the year, we got 18 bids on a concrete project. And then the last project we bid, we got 1 bid. So the market tells you what projects cost. And it depends on how hungry the contractors are, what other workloads out there. With Rock Creek McCaslin, we got feedback it was too small. We got feedback there was 2 other asphalt projects bidding, one with CDOT, one with another local municipality that were bigger, and they went after those. I'm hoping with my schedule that we'll be advertising this project in the winter, December, January, and we're ready to award in February and start in March if weather allows. So we'll be one of the first projects on the street. And what we found this year is our projects early in the year, we got really good pricing, but I don't know what the market will say 8, 9 months from now. So there's a little bit of a guess game to it, a little bit of science, Mark. So we could be at that 4 million mark. My gut is we'll be closer to 3, but
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
I've got a quick question, just on your estimates for the other part of Rock Creek Parkway, Honey Creek to Colton. Are you assuming, just given everything that's happening with the rest of Rock Creek Parkway, are you assuming deep mill and overlay for the Honey Creek to Colton?
No, we're assuming we'll do the same construction method to both sections. So
Okay.
I think it'll be a full depth reconstruction with the flash treated. The problem with the pulverization is it works, but there are some additional costs. So when you pulverize the asphalt with the subgrade, you get some extra material left over, and that material can't be recycled. It can't be used by the asphalt plants. It has to be hauled to a landfill, and that results in additional costs. So while we could see some cost savings with pulverization, I actually talked to the contractors working in town now to get their input, and they said that sometimes it costs more with those extra hauling costs. But my gut is we'll end up with the same construction on both. And this geotech report covered the full Rock Creek, so we got the findings already.
No, and that's kind of what I wanted to make sure, because
Agreed.
all of the geotech reports just look, it's what we expect for most of these roads. They're just crappy. They're terrible. The soils are bad. So I just wanted to make sure we're going down the path of full reconstruction now, as opposed to having a pivot for the rest of Rock Creek Parkway 6-9 months from now. In Indiana, are you kind of thinking the same thing?
Yeah, I'm waiting on a cost proposal from one of our own calls now, and it's got the geotech work included. So plan to present that to council hopefully later this year. I know it's pending budget approval, but my gut is it'll be in the same shape.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That's all I have.
We did get the geotech for Colton, which we'll talk about in just a minute. I know you pulled that one, Neil, but it wasn't as bad. There was some subgrade underneath that road, not throughout. The swell potential of the soils was lower, so we're still comfortable with the recommended construction on Colton as we've proposed.
Do we, just throwing it out here, obviously we made a decision on a roundabout at Coal Creek Drive and Rock Creek Parkway. is there any appetite to potentially revisiting that if the scope of the project and the budget is drastically different from what we were originally anticipating? Or is staff recommendation any going to be any different?
I didn't know if that question was for staff or you.
It's for the universe, for you and for us and for everyone.
So we could bid the project with the roundabout as alternate, so we know exactly what it costs, if that's something council is interested in. I know we have a lot of goals with this bond money and a lot of projects we want to complete, but it's a limited amount of money. So we could definitely do that and bring that at this time. I mean, staff doesn't have a recommendation to change what council discussed and decided on. It was a very close vote, so I know there were some mixed thoughts and opinions on that. If council wants to revisit it, we're happy to bring it up at a later date.
Like, from a budgeting standpoint, is there anything, since the capital budget for 2025 won't include this project, it'll be in 2026, so is there anything that we need to do, like a capital budget amendment to make sure that you've got appropriate funds for next year, since they're not going to be used this year? And does that kind of thing come back before the council, or does Matt take care of that administratively?
We will have some budget amendments later this year in October, but we would just, it'd be part of the 2026 budget that the council approves.
And I think this project wasn't actually in the approved 25 budget because it's part of the bond.
Okay.
So it wasn't actually.
Okay.
part of the budget.
But to answer your point about putting it in as an alternative, I don't have an issue having a specific line item just to see what the pricing is. And if, it comes back at $5 million hypothetically, and we need to revisit what those expenses are, I'm not opposed to that.
I can't remember where we were in terms of like what the roundabout cost versus not doing it. It was somewhere between like 400,000 and 700,000, something like that.
Yeah, I think this
Like
design,
$500,000.
this design here was about 700,000 was the engineer's estimate for the kind of lower cost option of roundabout.
Right.
And if we didn't do the roundabout, there would obviously be some cost still to remove the right turn lanes. So it wouldn't be a total of 700,000 savings. It'd be somewhere
I think it was like an incremental $500,000.
maybe $500,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was because like we were removing some lanes and then it was a question of whether that area was being reconstructed versus things milling. But yeah, so 400,000 or 500,000. Okay.
Yeah. But we can definitely bid as an alternate and bring you exact pricing, what that would look like.
I think that would be good to have, just to know.
It'll probably save, including it will probably save a lot of questions that the council might have at the time. So
Yeah.
maybe saving you a little bit of headache a couple months from now.
No problem.
Any additional questions on the kind of scope of the project? Otherwise, we can talk about schedule.
So schedule-wise, design is pretty much complete in this section. We are going to do that pavement section design. So modifying these drawings will take days or weeks. We can have that done very quickly. Designing Rock Creek from Honey Creek Lane to Indiana, we haven't started on, so we'll be getting a cost proposal. We've already requested that, and we'll bring that to council for approval. I anticipate bringing that in August for approval as part of the bond projects. So to finish design, we'd be looking at really this window from now until probably October, maybe November. We'd look at advertising the project, presenting the drawings to council once they're ready. I had that slated for November. And then looking at January, February / December to February for that bid window. Really, we can't do anything before mid-March. So we'd be ahead of the game, and then bringing it back to council with a construction contract in March. So we're ready to go in April. We would look at phasing of the project, realizing the school's still in session. Really, that 88th Street roundabout would be the big phasing concerns. We'd have to look at that starting before August, but we won't be able to finish this project between August and, or when school gets out, I used August, I'm sorry, between May when school gets out and August when school starts back. It's just not enough windows, so we will have some overlap with the school season, but we'll look at that.
What about Indiana?
Yeah, so I've actually talked to the engineers. I don't have a different engineer doing Indiana. We can still combine that to a drawing. So I'm going to get some contractors' thoughts and opinions to see if there'd be a cost savings combining that, because it's not next door, so they do have to move their equipment. So I don't know if we would combine that with this project or bid it separately. I want to get their feedback to see if we would realize any cost savings or if it'd be a wash. But the goal would be to have that same window. With Indiana, we would want to probably start when school gets out since it's right there at the school. So we're probably looking at May. But we would have that design ready to bid in the winter if we wanted to, pending council approval.
We also have plans to do the intersection over here at McCaslin and Marshall next year, correct?
Yeah, we're really, the EDA is who that grant's through. We submitted them the RFP for review back in May. I mean, it's been forever, and we haven't got any feedback yet. I pinged them a couple weeks ago. Brooke, our grant administrator, is helping. They've told us that they've lost a lot of staff, not through firings, but just anytime they lose someone, and a lot of people are leaving for security purposes, they can't backfill them, so they're understaffed. But they told us they would get us back comments soon. So as soon as we get that sign off on the design RFP, we're going to send this out for design, get some bids in, and bring it back to council and start construction. But the goal is to, I was hoping to be well ahead of where we are now, but the goal is definitely to complete this project next year, the McCaslin-Marshall intersection.
You feel comfortable that we can do all of that?
I do. We raised it at the EDA, and they replied back and said they understand. They'll put this at the top of the list, so whatever that means.
Well, my personal opinion about all this is I think, obviously Rock Creek Parkway needs to get done, and we're committed to getting it done, and we want it done right. So let's do what we need to do to put everything in the queue and bid this out early so we can get hopefully some preferential pricing. And if we've got the ability to leverage, multiple projects to get better pricing on the materials, I think that makes sense. So I like the idea of getting ahead of things and really committing to getting this done next year. My main concern is obviously what the impact at 88th is going to be for the people that are trying to get to Monarch, and then similarly, with Indiana, everybody trying to get to El Dorado K through 8. So as long as we're kind of phasing it in a way that is taking that into account, so it's obviously going to impact getting to schools, and there's no way around that. But to the extent that we can phase it in a way that's at least as strategic as possible to try to minimize the inconvenience that people are going to face, let's do that, which I know you already know, but I'm just stating it for the record. I want to make sure that we're trying to not inconvenience people getting their kids to and from school as much as possible. And if that means that crossing guards are always a good idea, but to the extent that there are sections of the roadway that are going to be done kind of later in the process, whether we're talking about the, closer to Colton or the stretch of Indiana that's closer to McCaslin, and we're not dealing with the section right in front of El Dorado K through 8, right? Like obviously that is a main, and there's going to be a bus service now going to El Dorado, which hasn't been happening for a bunch of years. So, let's just make sure that we are phasing it in an intelligent manner.
And my gut is Indiana, we actually could finish in that summer construction window based on the scope, but that's definitely something we'll look at. And I will give our community kudos. I don't think I've got one complaint about the work on McCaslin and Rock Creek with the lane closures. So I know there's been some disruptions and some delays, but our community's taken that with a stride and has been handling it very well.
You just need to go to the grocery store when I go to the grocery store. But no, I agree. I mean, the most important thing with these kind of this kind of traffic mitigation is safety, right? And I've seen some people trying to turn left, even though there's now 2 signs that say don't turn left, and some of the signs are really hard to read at night. Like for some reason, the the reflectiveness is all faded off, but everything else seems to be working great. So yeah. Of course, when you shift the lanes, everyone's going to forget what to do again and end up in the wrong place.
It just happened
again.
today. So start all over. Yep. All right. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Brandon? All right, well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, keep us posted, and looking forward to the discussion during budget time. I guess probably that's the next time we'll chat about.
Yeah, we'll probably bring design contracts for the next phase before then, since the bond's a little bit separate. But yeah, we'll be hopefully back in front of you in August with some design contracts to keep this project moving.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on to item 4B, which is our presentation on the North Pool design update.
Thanks, Mayor. Jordan's going to start us off.
Welcome, Jordan.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. We are back to provide a design update for the North Pool. So you'll kind of see in this presentation a couple of layouts for the bathhouse to choose from, and some sustainability information. And you also all, I think, received an email with some capital costs for if we were to go year round. So BRS will talk through all those options as well. Yeah, so pass it over to Mary.
Hello. First of all, I just want to say thank you for your patience with us as we gathered a lot of this cost information. Well, it goes both ways then. Yeah, so as Jordan said, we have some updates here to run through. So I'll have kind of the slides we can go over, stop with any questions you might have, and then just a discussion at the end for kind of what decisions we're looking for. So just an update here on the program. These are just us tracking some things that have been mentioned over the last meeting, just to let you know we're addressing these items or have addressed them in the designs already. So the access gate in the west fence, you'll see that on the new site plan. We removed EV charging, so we had some savings there in our budget. We are providing power and internet connections on the deck for the swim team. We have today the capital costs and the energy analysis here to talk about tonight. And we've also included a all new concrete pool deck in the scope as well. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is the updated site plan we have currently. So you'll see on the west side of the fence, we have a 42-inch wide gate there that can be like full swing and on a hold open, et cetera. Exact location we can work out once we get into more details. And then on the north side will be our new shade structures. Those are being designed by our landscape designer to fit within kind of the trees that are back in that area. And then this is our new layout for the pool mechanical building. So one thing I want to note is that we are showing this new building connected to where that swim team shed is, which will now be part of the new structure. So it will be all one new building there. And the idea is we can also do an overhang canopy off that building to provide some more shade on the deck with that. That's also where we will put the power and internet connections along that building. So to lay it out in this fashion, we are going to be losing the 3 trees I've shown in the red dots here. So we really tried to minimize losing, tried to go with the minimum number we could there with losing trees. You know, once we're a little further along in design with getting that design of the foundation and slab there for the new building, we'll have more information. But we do hope to keep the 4 trees that are shown here with the green dots, which will enable us to keep a seating area a little bit smaller than what it is now, but still keep these kind of orange squares are 2 tables with seating all around them. And, you know, add some nice landscaping along the building, some hedges or something there. So we just wanted to make you aware that that's in the current plan here. And as an option B, as I said, as we get into designing that foundation, you know, it's possible we might need to impact more of those trees. We have an option B for the seating area where we can add some pavers and furniture to the area between the 2 tennis courts. It's currently landscaped, but we think that would also work as a seating area if we need to move it over there. So just letting you know, we have that in our back pocket as an option. So we'll kind of get that as an alternate in the pricing if we need to go that direction. Any comments on the site plan or concerns about that?
Just a question on, can you talk about the vending and what this maintenance
Sure.
thing is?
So that's really just us trying to find a place for vending machines that have been requested by the staff. So right now they are under that covered porch area. This would allow us to create a little bit more of like a niche for them to go in that would have an overhead coiling door in front of it, so it could be closed off in the wintertime. Also locating it here keeps it out of direct sunlight, so those vending machines won't get too hot, keeps everything nice and cool. So That's the plan, is to move them from under the porch area and put them out on the decks elsewhere. So that's where we located them. And then just because we had some extra space there, a maintenance closet, be able to put a maintenance closet out on the deck, I think would be helpful for staff. And that would kind of help sort of hide the double doors into the pool mechanical room, a little more of like a equipment space from the rest of the pool deck.
Okay. And then with regards to the mechanical building that is now like extending north here and connecting to that shed, so is the plan to get rid of the shed altogether and basically build a unified structure here?
Yes, and we can include a garage door on that structure, so it'll have the same, access to it that they have now. So we would be removing the shed you have there now.
Okay. And right now, so the swim team, there is nothing right here. There's like I think right in this section here, we have
The
that's like
chemical storage
the
shed.
chemical storage and
Yep.
like the cover for the pool in this kind of rickety old, I don't even want to call it a shed, but it is some sort of structure that's fallen apart. And then there's like space between here and then the swim team shed, which is like up here. Currently, the swim team does use this space for, like, they set up their tables and do scoring. So I know that we have in this site plan the idea of like power and internet, which was one of the requests that they had. I just want to make sure that we're being mindful of, we don't want to provide power and internet if they don't have the space to actually set up the scoring that they want to set up. And if that means that it needs to be relocated to someplace else on the deck, that's fine too. But we should at least like try to coordinate with them on how much space they actually would need. And we wouldn't want to like locate power and internet if they don't actually have the space to set up. And I know like we've got some overhangs here, so can you maybe speak to how much kind of deck space we're going to be losing or?
Yeah, so it's about, I can go back here. It's about 11 and a half feet wide there. So they are losing all of that deck space, but our hope was they could set up under that overhang and kind of set up their tables in that shade area. But we'll share this with them, and if that doesn't work, we will kind of look to where maybe they could relocate that and make sure they have power access close by. We'll certainly get their buy-in on this, knowing that they'll lose that deck space.
And with regards to like the design to extend this, can you just kind of like speak to like why does it make sense to build a structure that continues on this way versus, right now we have like the standalone shed, and obviously we don't have this structure, but originally the design was to have this as kind of like a standalone little box over here and then, shed over there. So kind of speak to what are we going to be putting over here?
Sure. So to get everything that needs to fit in that pool mechanical room without connecting onto the deck up here, this wall will have to move further south, which further impacts that seating area and trees. So our kind of solution to that was to bring it further up onto the pool deck so it'll be in line with the existing building, and then we've moved an electrical room and another room up to connect it. So the electrical room will now be located here versus previously it was going to be down here. We've also kind of flipped a lot of the equipment in the pool mechanical room to make it work in this kind of exact shape. So that was just kind of some work with our aquatic engineer on getting the pit and everything for the pumps in that room to fit in this particular layout. If we want to keep that deck space, we will just have to lose the seating area and pull that building further south to get the square footage we need. And in that case, we can do our other seating option. So we do have kind of both are definite possibilities right now.
Do we have the ability to go a little more to the east? I know that there's a little drainage ditch or something there.
We also have a retaining wall and the path there, and we really didn't want to touch that, and because that will be a lot more kind of, like you said, irrigation and grading work we'd have to do if we go any further east.
Okay.
We liked the idea of connecting it and just making it all one big structure. And the idea is we're going to be giving it the nice stucco finish that the bathhouse has. It'll look very much like a related structure. And we kind of really liked trying to save that nice tree coverage that you have down in the southeast corner, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love saving as many established trees as we can.
We lost a bunch of ash trees just south of that, around the jungle gym.
Over on the west side of the bathhouse, like over by the new wading pool, currently we have, so the public typically enters through the bathhouse and then they enter the deck through the rear here. But there's an access point over here with a gate and then like a little sidewalk section. Is that being preserved as well?
We will have to, the access, yes, is being preserved. We'll have to redo some of the fencing on the interior there, just as the separation from the wading pool. But the access there and a path to the pool will be preserved.
Yeah, because it's nice. It's nice having the access here preserved. I mean, I like the gate here as well and having a second access point. I'd like to preserve both.
Yes. Yeah, we'll definitely keep that as the main, I know like during swim meets, that's the main kind of path of traffic there. So we'll definitely keep that. The wading pool might slide over a little bit. It looks kind of tight there, but the location on that will all be figured out with how we want to most economically reconfigure the fence there.
Okay. And then on the shade structures, so do we not have any shade on the north of the pool currently? Okay, we just have trees. So we're going to do new shade structures here, which is great. Where we have existing shade, I'm assuming everything, we're going to replace that as well and match it?
We were going to design the new to match what you have existing rather than replace your existing with new, just to try to be economical about it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it looks.
It will be the fabric on the
uniform
metal
and-
frame.
yeah, okay.
The same look.
The shade that we have there currently, is that the type that we have to remove each season though?
Yeah, the fabric is, it comes down in the winter.
And we talked about the idea of how staff doesn't like that, right? Because it rips and it's hard to install. And if there's an idea to have kind of year-round structures that don't need to be removed, that's less staff time and less possibility for it to get ripped, I'd be open to replacing all the shade and making it year-round.
Okay, so we can maybe just include a line item for the new shade structures to be more of a permanent, and then also replacing your existing with a more permanent structure as well.
Yeah, and we have shade right now over by the kiddie pool. So that's going to continue to be there. So we'll have shade here, we'll add shade here, and then we'll have additional shade with the overhang on the east side of the pool.
Yes.
Right? Okay, good.
Okay, so now for the layout of the bathhouse, we do appreciate, we've had lots of collaboration over the last few weeks, so thank you for kind of helping us through to keep us moving forward. So we have updated lobby. The control desk hasn't changed from the last iteration, but we do now have access to a women's and a men's locker room off of the pool deck there. And then we have our guard and first aid office in the top upper corner. And we have a family changing room. We decreased from 2 down to 1, and we have that now oriented off of the wading pool for kids and families to have easy access to that. And then we have the all-season restroom, which is open year-round for the tennis players, accessed from the outside of this as well. And with the leftover space, we were able to provide storage, which is very appreciated by staff. So this is one option. The men's room has been a little tricky to lay out. So we have 2 configurations. This current one, you would access into the sink area here. Then we have 2 toilet stalls, 2 urinals, and a shower in the back. And you'll see it's very kind of similar to our women's room layout, where you come into a small vestibule, you have baby changing stations near both doors, and then you'll have a sink area, 4 stalls, and a shower and changing area in the back of the bathroom here. We've also tried, there's a little bit of a pinch point here, but it's not terrible. It's still compatible with compliant with codes. We had some concern here about sight lines, since people will be out on that patio, that you can sort of see back into the urinal and toilet areas. So we do have a second iteration of the men's room, where we've now flipped the family changing room to the top of this space and flipped the door location, so that you are walking in and that now you're just seeing your sink area there instead of the toilets. Of course, there will be a mirror over the sinks, so you will still have a bit of reflection, but seeing as it's a little bit better sight lines with this orientation here. We do have a pinch point here as well that we will need to address, either maybe sliding the sinks up a little, but we still have the same number of fixtures in both versions. So 2 urinals, 2 toilets here, and then a nice large kind of changing shower area in the back here. So our hope tonight was to, if you all have a preference in either of those, or any other comments kind of on how this update to the bathhouse.
If you moved the sinks up, would that get rid of the issue where you've now got a mirror looking at the urinals?
Yes.
So then you're alleviating the pinch point and not seeing tushes?
Yeah, so this, you'll see this kind of circle laid out on the floor plan. It's a turning radius that is required. So that was kind of the tricky part, is getting that to fit in there as well. And we have tried many iterations of this plan. So getting all of your clearances to work out, it's tight. So we are trying. What our other solution to that is to be, with the pinch point at least, is sliding the wall of the lobby over maybe like 6 inches, just to give us a little bit more space in that aisle path there. So I'm just saying it's not like completely perfect the way it is. Like walls might slide here or there, but at least it's close.
How much is, and you don't necessarily have to know this offhand, but I'd be curious to know how much sliding a wall 6 inches would cost. Is that large expense or not so much?
Well, yeah, it'll be added cost, but it's not large, no.
Okay.
I mean, we are centrally demoing everything else in the bathhouse anyways.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I prefer this design not only for sight lines, which I hadn't even considered till you mentioned that, but just the doors access. It feels better to have the family changing room door a little farther up, more toward the rest of the deck, and then scooting the men's room access kind of closer to the women's, so it's easy to see when you're in that central location, leaving that control area, that the 2 restrooms are right there and you're not kind of walking farther to get to it. So personally, I think this one's better, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Option 2. I'm much bigger fan of option 2. Option 1 had so many sort of, people bumping into each other in the men's room was a highly likely possibility. This one, if you just want to run in and change quick, you can do that. The only question is, if we're potentially moving things, can we shrink the family changing room back wall inwards a little bit to allow for the sinks to move north? Let me get the pointer. Sorry. Like, rather than moving this wall that way, can you move this wall in 6 inches and then maybe move the sinks upwards? Or is this like a uniform size, again, because of the turning radius as well? Okay.
Yeah, it's a uniform size. It's really just all these dashed in clearances on the floor. Like, we're at the absolute minimum in front of the bench and the minimum required in front of the shower. So we actually can't move that
Gotcha.
wall.
Okay.
Even though it looks like there's space.
Yeah.
There's just interior dimensions we have to meet.
Okay. Yeah, as it is, I'm optimistic that you can probably find some way to tweak it. Bigger fan of option 2. I appreciate all the incredible patience you've shown through this design by committee. So, which has been great. I actually think this is a much, much better product than what we had a few weeks ago. So I appreciate all the iterations that have gone into it.
Great.
We get any feedback from staff on which option they prefer from an operations standpoint?
I don't know if you...
Sure. I think that the components that staff are very interested in, the control desk, storage, access into the guard room and the first aid room, those have all been accommodated well. The restrooms are really more of a customer item. And it's great to have feedback that maybe we don't have expertise in, so thank you.
So depending on, so on option one, with the family changing room kind of on the southern end, I was curious why that door opens north instead of south, because if people are running from the splash pad or whatever and the door opens towards them rather than away from them, does that pose any potential safety concerns? Or does it have to open north because of some code requirement?
We think of it more going back to the sightlines thing, is that when you're opening the opposite direction of where most people are, you're not seeing into it. However, we will have to make sure that there is a wide enough path outside of the swing of that door so that your traffic will walk naturally outside the swing, so you wouldn't be hitting anyone. But good question.
Paint a half circle or something where the radius of the door opens? Okay. Just don't want some parent opening the door quickly and a kid.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a similar question about just the way that the doors swing. Is there kind of like a uniform best practice in terms of where the door swings out versus getting pushed into? Like who pulls and who pushes?
Well, a lot of these doors too, we do both ways, especially like for the restrooms in and out. But we think about things just in terms of like where your traffic's coming from, also like who might be on the outside of that door. This one is kind of out of the way of people. The reason we had pushed this door back for it to swing out is like as people leave, you kind of, it goes both ways, but say you have a stroller or a wagon, you're pulling behind you or something, like just opening out in the direction you're going. But of course, if you're heading back into the women's room, there's always both ways. You have to think about it. But this door swing, avoiding any traffic coming out of this door is extremely important, which is why we pushed it back, so it won't be in conflict. But code reasons, we don't have any spaces that are over a certain number of occupants that require your door to swing out. So we have some flexibility.
Sorry, that was loud. Is there a way to add another sink in the women's bathroom? I just don't know if you have the space, but 2 sinks is less than
What's that?
optimal.
So these are wing walls that we build to have space for the towels and trash cans and all your restroom accessories. But we can look at putting a third one in there and see where we might be able to place an accessory on an exterior wall if we can. We try to recess them into walls so they're not sticking out and all that good stuff.
Currently, we have 2 sinks.
Yes.
And we have 3 toilets currently. So we're gaining a toilet in the women's locker room, which is great. Yeah. On the men's room design, I don't really feel strongly one way or the other. I think this is a better design than what we've currently got. Option number 1, if this is what everybody thinks is best in terms of sight lines, I'm fine with it. I think it's a little awkward. I think 90% of the people who go in there are going to use the urinal, so having to walk past the toilets to get to the urinals, just from a flow perspective, doesn't seem like it's necessarily the best way to design it. So if we could just go to option 2, I think that this section will be used more than this section. So typically that's the way that I think it would better be laid out. And from a sight line here, if people are looking in and seeing the mirrors, they're reflecting 45 degrees as well, so they're not necessarily seeing straight at the urinals. But maybe we can think of creative ways to provide a little more privacy. I did stop at the North Pool over the 4th of July weekend, and I was talking to the guards there, and it was it was at a time when the pool was closed. We had some thunderstorms on like the Saturday on the 5th. So all the guards are huddled here, freezing because it was cold. They're all in their bathing suits, and we currently don't have a guard station. So they're definitely going to be appreciative of having an indoor place for them to huddle, which will be nice. I also asked them about just how the bathhouse is used from a flow perspective. And one thing I didn't necessarily appreciate until I was just sitting there talking to them. So for those who haven't been to the South Pool recently, in order to access the pool deck from the South Pool, you need to walk through the locker rooms. You can't access through the lobby, but in order to access the pool deck at the North Pool, everybody walks right through here. So you don't have to walk through the locker room in order to get to the pool deck. Currently, we have the men's room and the women's room. So there is an access point off of the lobby and then an access point onto the deck. So with both of these designs, we're losing an access point from the lobby, and the only access to the locker rooms is off of the pool deck. But from the guards' perspective, because nobody actually, currently the women's locker room is like, you walk in like this and then you walk out like that. So it's not like you're walking through. It's just a weird design that doesn't make sense. And similarly, like nobody walks through the men's room to get there because it's just quicker to access it off the lobby. So I don't think that we're necessarily like losing anything by losing that access point. And I think it's frankly just eating up potential usable space with a door that doesn't need to be there. But I just want us to all be aware, because the South Pool is different, right? Like the South Pool, the way it's currently designed, you're not walking through the lobby. You have to walk through the locker room, but it's also a wide design, and it's kind of differently laid out, so it does work. But I think that this design is great. I'm really happy about adding the additional facilities for the women's locker room. I think the access off the pool and losing the access points off the lobby is fine. I'm really happy about the all-season restroom here, and I think having the family changing room off of the wading pool is just going to be a really nice addition to this overall design. So I guess if I had to choose between option 1 and option 2, I'd lean towards option 2, but I'm open to hearing other thoughts. I'm also really happy that we consolidated the guard station and the kitchen, so we don't have kind of redundant space, but we're still picking up some storage here for staff, because there's obviously storage needs to just kind of run this building separate and apart from the mechanical building as well. So currently also like the guards, like all the first aid supplies, like if you ever just checked out like that desk, there's no cubbies for the guards. Like they just all have their backpacks just either piled on the deck or stacked behind here. All the first aid supplies are kind of stacked here. So actually having a place for them with cubbies and first aid station in a standalone guard office, first aid office is a good improvement. So, others? What does the architect think?
No, I think you guys have done a great job. I think it's a vast improvement from last time. I think, Mark, you've pretty much driven this, so what does the junior architect think?
Well, that's the problem. I'm not. So
no, but
I don't know what I'm doing.
You use it. You use it all the time. You're there with your kids a lot, so you understand the programmatic requirements. And I think we've got to a point where I think it's really clicking. And I think if everybody's in agreement, I mean, this seems like the plan to move forward was number 2. I think it's probably the sharpest plan, and I think it's got the most for it. I like the bathroom layouts. ADA requirements are always a big problem, right? You've got the turning circle radiuses, you've got the clearances. That is something you always have to adhere to. So getting everything you want isn't going to happen, especially since we're not moving any exterior walls. So I think you guys have done a fantastic job with those constraints. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of this one. So yeah, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you all for all the input. It's helpful. This was an update on the budget again. Again, these are still schematic design estimates. We haven't issued yet for our design development estimate because that will come in the next few weeks with these design changes. So there's not much change there from the last time. Okay, so now we have our comparison of our different energy options here. So we brought on a sustainability consultant, Group 14. I believe they are on the Zoom call actually. They've joined in if we have any specific questions for them. And this is, so I know it's a lot of information. So to kind of quickly explain, the systems are laid out in each row here. So we have all electric at the top. It's kind of a short explanation of what exactly the system is. We do have space considerations for each of these, some much greater impact to the project than others. We have the upfront cost for installing that system. We have its annual energy usage, and then we have its annual operating costs based on that energy usage. We had some notes on lead times here just as a consideration. And then a kind of percentage of that efficiency based on your current energy usage of the pool here. And this chart is for the extended pool season from April to October, which is what the current design and estimates have all been being designed to, extending it by a few months. So I don't know if you all had time to review this and have specific questions. Essentially, it's comparing all electric to electric heat pumps, the big boppers, which I think we talked about last time, as another option for electric, gas boilers, and then the gas-electric combination is where 50% of your load would be on the electric, and then your gas boiler would be a backup to that system, most likely kind of in the winter months. And then we did include here a line item for your solar PV, which you have now, but we've talked to your vendor and they would recommend completely replacing your existing system because its efficiency has certainly declined over the last 10 years or so since it was installed. So the cost here and everything would be for a brand new system, replacing what you have now and expanding its capacity.
Is that cost for purchasing it, or is there an option for leasing to where we're not buying a system that's then going to be outdated again?
Is that for the solar, you mean, for the PV? I believe that's for purchasing it.
Is there an option to lease rather than purchase?
We'll have to ask them that. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
But I can find
Or
out.
a power purchase agreement?
We can find out, yeah. And then we also had a slide which is showing the difference between that extended season and the difference in cost and energy usage to go fully year-round as well.
Just a quick question on the big boppers.
Yes.
Is it just that they're brand new and we don't have good operational cost data for what the operating cost would be?
No, we actually hadn't asked Group 14 to include those yet because there's two big reasons why. We wanted to show it as an option, something we can study, but this area, the amount of space they will require somewhere on the property, like out in the grass, is a huge consideration. And also, especially with the big boppers, that they're very loud and most likely would bother your neighbors.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's nowhere we could put them and not have them be in someone's backyard. So based on what you presented to ACES, it was a non-starter for me, but I didn't see the OpEx, so I was curious where they even fall, since, was it Carbondale is going in that direction? So if they're going in that direction, there must be some sort of cost savings, and they're starting from a greenfield space, so it's easy to do that as opposed to what we're doing. But I was just curious what the OpEx savings may have been.
We can certainly
try. No, I don't want anyone to chase anything. I was just curious why it was empty.
Yeah, that's why. We just hadn't, actually, we asked them to do the electric and gas only, just because of limited time, but you know. So do we have any questions on this, or we want to go more in depth about any of them?
Quick question, just, I mean, because it was, I just had to like flip between the two slides, right? Because you got annual operating costs, for basically 7 months, and you got annual operating costs on the other one, which adds in the other 5 months, and there's a step change in terms of those monthly operating and costs. As we get into this, it's a question, really, because the first decision we got to make right now is if we want to spend the additional capital for year-round, and then we got to make a decision as to whether or not we even want to be open for those extra 5 months, because basically across every one of these scenarios, it's a step change in terms of operating costs. On an energy side, staff costs go down, but I don't think this council's had that discussion in terms of the trade-off and if we're ready to make it just yet. But from a capital cost perspective, at least I feel at least better informed about the incremental costs.
For the year-round, I'm assuming that's year-round. It's open 12 months, and the assumption is people are going to be out there in February swimming.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the $497,000 to basically make the pool and the facilities able to be open year-round?
Yeah, so the current budget was to extend the season April to end of October. So for those colder months, the 497 was like that itemized list. Things, something like the thermal pool cover, you wouldn't have to do that right now if you're not going to do year round right now, but it's when you are ready to operate year round, you would need to switch that out, if that makes sense. So that's maybe one of the items that's like, you wouldn't have to do it right now if you're not going to be operating year round right now. But yes, the rest of those are all basically requirements to be able to have your pool buildings heated in the coldest months of the year and heat the pool then too. The snow melt system, we estimated for 50% of the pool deck. That can change, but essentially on an operational perspective, you would want some perimeter of the whole pool to have the snow melt system. And again, that goes underneath your concrete deck, and we are redoing your concrete deck as a part of this project, so definitely a consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other outdoor pools in Colorado that operate 12 months a year?
There is one.
And what are their annual operating expenses?
I don't know that. I am not even sure there is one. I want to.
I don't think the Boulder pool is operating year-round anymore.
You're talking about municipal pools? I mean, there's definitely private pools that do.
Right, but I mean, so yeah, a municipal pool that's outdoors, uncovered, that operates year-round.
We don't know of one, but we've asked around, not sure. I mean, yeah, not that we know of.
This.
And
Without a additional element to close the pool.
Yes.
Otherwise.
right. Because, I mean, there's no forecasted operating expenses for the snow melt, and I got to imagine that's going to be pretty expensive to operate.
Yeah, so we didn't include that in here, but it's a hydraulic system, it's a recirculation, I would imagine, so I don't think it uses a lot of water, but.
So this leads me to my next question, solar hot water.
Yes.
We've got, Stephanie brought up the point of we've got $221,000 for April to October for photovoltaic and another $310,000 for year-round. Could we divert that money to right-size a solar thermal system so that we can heat the pool, provide hot water for showers and sinks, and pool deck snow melt during the winter months?
So in our research of this topic, because we would love to be able to do that, I mean, we have so much sun here, it'd be amazing. Every project we have heard of for a pool has shut down.
Right, and so my question, and I've seen that same research, and my question is why, from what I understand, those systems were over-designed. And so I'd really like to understand why those systems failed. Was it because of over-design? Because they didn't design it properly? So what would it take to right-size a solar thermal system for our pool?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have the information on how those systems were designed, since we weren't involved in any of those. But
we could find out why they failed.
Well, why they failed and why they've decommissioned them are, my understanding, one of the most popular reasons is from a maintenance perspective, it was costly. And it's a very intense maintenance because it's a very complicated system. So what we have found is that municipalities aren't really able to stay on top of that maintenance. You would have to essentially hire a full-time engineer, and that's their job, is taking care of this system, who has specialized training and really understands the ins and outs. And then this, the system just failing when it's overheating and they don't have a place to release that heat. It's easier in new construction when you can do a large storage tank and save your heat that way, or off-put your heat that way. But in a renovation where we can't add a huge storage tank, we have just heard that the systems fail. And
Even if that is designed for 40% capacity.
I think
I
that's
don't
the
know
problem.
what they were designed at,
The
what
problem is if we
capacity.
did, if let's say a half-size system, then we're still augmenting it with another system. So we're effectively buying two systems.
Right, and so with the gas system, do any of these operating expenses include the demand charges that Excel charge? Because that 300 kW system, even if we hit peak demand for 15 minutes, that's $7,200 a month.
Sorry, what are you asking?
For the boilers, I mean, Excel has demand charges for peak use, and so when we're operating the pool in the middle of summer, and if that boiler has to kick in for even 15 minutes, that's $7,200.
Yeah, but
And
their
so
peak use is based on electricity, not.
they
not
have
based
demand
on-
charges. It's in the secondary market.
For gas during the summer?
Yep.
Really?
Yes. So I'm
Yeah, I would assume
really
it would be.
concerned that I'd really like to understand if these operating expenses that your sustainability team has put together has factored in the Excel demand charges.
I'm not sure. Do we have anyone on the Zoom? Oh, Anna. Here, okay. And this is Anna McCullough from Group 14. To put you on the spot, Anna.
Sure.
Did you hear that?
Some of it cut out for a minute. I'm so sorry that I missed the last about 60 seconds of what was said.
So, go ahead.
I'm asking for the annual operating expenses for the boiler, if that includes the Excel energy demand charges.
Yes, absolutely.
So it does.
It does. We model a full 8760 hourly model using Excel's rates as they change during the summer and the winter.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
And so on slide 15, which is the winter 2025 operating budget,
Yes.
there's, the column is labeled NP Winter Monthly, and it's a cost of $51,695. So is that a monthly winter operating expense, or is that the winter operating expense?
This is monthly, but this was done prior to the energy analysis. So this number here, 18,000, was an estimate.
So that $51,695 is a monthly cost. So we'd be spending $310,000 for 6 months of operation in the winter months.
It's about as similar to what your operating is in the summer months.
Even with the snow melt and all the other heating to keep the mechanical room warm,
That's not included in this,
it's
no.
not included in that. Okay.
No, this was the same, sorry, this was not updated with the energy analysis.
Okay.
This was the same from about a month ago or so,
Okay.
where we had the town staff put together their operating
Okay.
estimate of their monthly operating.
My point with all this is I'm really trying to get my arms wrapped around how much is it going to cost us if we decide to go with a 12-month-a-year operation, what this is going to cost to operate, because if we're spending another $310,000 to keep the pool open 6 months a year, my question is, how many people in the public surveys said that they would utilize the pool in the winter months? And if that number is not high, and this is more for town staff, have we looked at some sort of fee model during the winter months to help offset some of these expenses?
Well, the problem is that the survey question didn't take into account the cost, right? So like, the survey question is, what do you want? And people say, I want to be able to swim year round. And I want to have ice cream for breakfast, like, and like everything is free and there's no trade-offs, right? And like, that's the problem. It's like, we're trying to make a decision, recognizing that there are some users out there who will swim in Some.
Some, but I mean,
It's not
does that
an
justify
overwhelming,
another
majority of
300,000
people. And then the
operating
question is,
expense and-
does it justify the additional expense to make that possibility happen?
And be probably the only outdoor municipal pool in Colorado operating in the winter months.
So that was my question actually to staff, because I pulled up the survey responses and I might be missing it, and totally possible because I looked at this very quickly. But question 14, it was worded as, would you or your household be interested in using North Pool outside of summer months, parentheses, summer or fall, if it were properly heated? The majority said yes, 353 responses. So the vast majority said yes, with quite a few, 276 saying maybe. But I don't know if there was a question saying year round, like, do you plan on swimming in February? My guess would be a lot less would say that. And then the next question, which was, would you be willing to pay a fee? No, nobody's willing to pay a fee for it. So I know of one email where somebody said that they wanted it year round, but I don't remember any other emails about that. So I'm wondering if there was another question that I missed in very quickly skimming this, which it is possible, or if that was the only question about off summer months, because if so, it feels like we're already accomplishing that with the April, May, and I don't know that we're going to have enough people who are paying the taxes that were just raised to justify spending nearly $500,000 in capital plus operating expenses to be pursuing year-round. And if not, then maybe that's our answer.
Right.
Yeah, and the fear is we spend the capital now, we open for a winter, and we struggle to attract staff, and then we end up shutting it down, but we've sunk the capital in.
Right.
Because it's a really easy decision, like, oh, it's just going to incur $500,000 on top of $5 million. Sure, let's do it. But right, there's a long-term expense here because, but I think, going back a few slides, if we've successfully added April and October to the season, I think we've truly met the expectations for most of the people. Because I don't know if it was in the survey, but there's also a lot of the public comments, and they all said 3 season. So 3 season is effectively what we're talking about here, which to me is a win.
Yeah, I think with like my overarching kind of philosophy on like how we should go about approaching this project is like, we shouldn't do anything too drastically different, like too revolutionary. Like, so like I'm concerned about spending $300,000 on or $400,000 on a heated deck and then nobody uses it, or, it's too expensive to operate and then we decide to shut it down, or it breaks. It just doesn't seem like it's necessarily like a wise utilization of taxpayer dollars. So, I'm all for giving us the flexibility to extend the season and to make the investments in the equipment that allow us to be open longer, and then we can kind of try it out. But I don't want to spend 10% of the total project budget on like new technology that nobody does, that could break, that nobody could use, and then we end up just kind of wasting it. And like similarly, like on any of the sustainability options, I would like us to be as sustainable as possible, but I don't want to try something that we can't really like bank on it working, right? Like, and I wouldn't want us to spend like a ton of money on something that is kind of risky and, has proven to fail in other places, or just isn't kind of appropriate for a municipal pool in this climate, in this area, that hasn't been proven. Like, I don't want to be the guinea pig on any of this stuff. Like, I want this pool to be done right, and I want it to last for the next 30 years, and it just, like, everybody be really happy with it.
So, Mark, I don't disagree with any of those comments. My broader comment is we have a sustainability action plan that calls for a 3% annual greenhouse gas reduction in municipal operations. We put a 300 kW gas-fired boiler in the pool house we're never going to meet our sustainability goals.
Sure we are. I mean, we're
Not from-
60% efficient
not
now.
from
We're
a
going to like
Not from a
97%.
municipal operations standpoint, we won't. What other buildings are we going to build in the next 3 years? They're going to be all electric. The maintenance building is not going to cut it. I mean, unless we build a new town hall and make it all electric in the next 3 years. But
Yes.
we have some lofty sustainability goals from a municipal operations, and a gas boiler is taking us in the exact opposite direction.
I hear what you're saying, but I guess the way I look at it is like if we're making incremental improvements in the right direction, so if we're taking it from something that is 60% efficient and then we're moving it to 97% efficient, that to me is a win. Like that is making us use less gas, use it more efficiently, generate less emissions than we're currently doing. So is it 100%? And, is electric better? Maybe, but is it untested? Is it kind of risky? Is it worth the trade-off of maybe it breaking, it having to be replaced earlier? So like all of those things, I kind of defer to you and to you, Adam, to the experts on this to kind of guide us. Like, this is what I want to hear, like what your recommendation is, recognizing that like sustainability is important, but at least I'm just speaking for myself. Like, I view it as, I want it to be like responsible with the spending decision, and we're not going to do something that needs to be replaced in 5 years, or, something that's going to break down, not deliver the service at the level that people expect.
I think I'm kind of in between the two of you guys on this. I've never been crazy about all electric. I just don't think that's, my own standpoint. I've waxed poetic about this many times, but Mike does have a point about the fact that we have set up these sustainability goals, and it seems like we never, it's almost like it's becoming like lip service because we're never actually pushing in the direction of these things. And while I may not be in agreement with these things, we either need to really move in the direction of these sustainability goals that we've created as a town, or we need to pull it back and cancel it, because one way or the other, it's like we have to move in the direction. If we're going to give sustainability a green light with this town and talk all about sustainability and how much we love the environment and hoorah, and then we're not going to do anything with it, it just seems like we're wasting our time having that. Mike does have a point. We've set up these goals and we're not hitting them. We're not doing it with the public works staff, right? We talked about that, and Mike and you and I even had an argument about that. Because we disagreed on the way that was going to go, and now we're creating another structure. We're not hitting the sustainability goals. So my only concern is, when are we going to step up as a town and say, okay, we made a promise to do this, we're going to go full bore. And I just want to be devil's advocate, and I'm not in agreement with a lot of the sustainability things that we can do, especially from a construction standpoint. It's just, to Mike's point, we need to start really honoring what we said we were going to do with this in the past, and this could be one of the ways that we do it.
We're doing heat pumps in the Public Works building and the office. We're not heating the garage bays with electric heaters because the recommendation.
It wouldn't work. Yeah,
that
you
it
need
wouldn't
gas.
work.
Yeah.
So like I'm all for the sustainability goals, but like we also need to be practical and pragmatic. So that, like, I'd love to hear from the consultants and
Mark, I'll just add my commentary to that statement. As a world, we've been practical for the last 50 years about how we're treating greenhouse gas emissions, and at some point, probably in the very near future, Mother Nature's gonna have her calling card for us, and we're gonna be in a crisis mode, which, as a nation, we are great at responding to disasters. There's a hurricane, there's a flood, there's a fire, tens of billions of dollars are instantly made available. But we want to try to do something proactive to stem the tide of climate change. Oh my God, we can't do that. It costs too much money. The technology isn't perfect. We're not willing to take a risk. We have to be practical. It's disconcerting from my perspective.
I guess I wouldn't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Like my personal opinion is just, if we're going in a more efficient direction, like we're making progress, right? Like we're going from 60% efficient furnaces to 97. that is something and shouldn't be just kind of like written off because it's gas powered. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but like, again, like I'm open to it. I'm not saying like I'm opposed to it, but I would defer to our consultants and staff for their recommendation as to what they think actually makes sense. And then we can continue the discussion. I mean, I'm open to it, but, I just want to be smart.
I guess that's where I land on it too, is I want the sustainability. That's why I'm so appreciative of you being up here, because you know more about it than any of us. So I put a lot of weight in what you had to say. For me, I always want to be a good financial steward. And so when experts are telling me the technology isn't there, and I agree, if we poured the billions of dollars into the research and technology rather than just responding to the, latest disaster caused by us not being good with sustainability, that would put us in a far better position. But to me right now, it feels like this technology we've seen from Vargas on their electric mowers, not, breaking down every 2 seconds, and they're trying to be at the forefront of it. When the technology isn't there, I don't want to be the one to throw money at it to try to achieve goals that, then we're paying more money because the technology is not where it should be, and then we're having to fix it or hire experts to run it. So kind of like Mark said, I'd rather be better than perfect if perfect isn't achievable in a financially sustainable way. I'd be interested, and you know more about this, of course, with your background, but with our sustainability goals, do we need to revisit those? And I don't necessarily think we should throw them out, but are they realistic given where technology is, or do we need to revisit those and say, the technology is not there for us to achieve these goals right now, so can we push those dates till technology is there, or think of different ways to achieve those to where we're not putting in systems and buildings that maybe don't make as much sense yet because the technology is super unreliable?
It's a great question, and there's a good portion of our population that say that electric vehicles aren't there yet, so they're not going to buy an electric vehicle. Electric vehicles get 200 more miles today than they did 15 years ago. But yet, there's a huge segment of our population that, well, I'm not going to buy an electric vehicle because I can't drive 900 miles. And so I think to your broader question, it's really a question for the community of Superior, because they were the ones that helped write and come up with the goals for the Sustainability Action Plan. And I don't know that I would feel that I would be in a position to say, yeah, we should revisit those. I think that's a question for the community, since they helped write it and establish the goals.
So just a question, because I think maybe I'm getting confused here, because as I look at this slide, electric pool heaters, $150,000, operating costs are $16,000, gas boilers, $167,000, so we're spending an extra $30,000 for new gas boilers, but yes, your operating costs are $10,000 less per year. And those are all based on today's gas and electricity pricing, right?
Correct.
Right, so this assumes that for the next million years, gas prices and electric prices don't change, right? So if even modest gas prices go up,
3%
this thing gets flipped upside down very quickly. The $30,000 in savings, with an all electric today, stick it in the bank, get 4% today. It's going to change, in about a week. But the point is, you can save the money on the CapEx today, and we've got to make a leap that, gas prices are not going to stay where they're at. And electric pricing, because you can go down the PPV, anything to sort of lock in your electric prices, and that's the right direction to go, because it goes back to the sustainability plan, which we adopted 2 years ago. Because this is what I suggested when we were talking about the O&M building. If we're going to not follow the sustainability plan because it's too hard, let's just delete it. We don't need it, right? We're just going to do best efforts for everything. We don't need the sustainability plan to tell us the right things to do if we're going to ignore it. So for me, looking at this slide, it's a no-brainer. Do the electric pool heater, because I know electric costs are probably going to stay flat because we're adding a lot more electric generation capacity and we're not adding gas generation capacity. And that gets us where we need to be. And we've done other pools have done all electric. So that's not new. Solar hot water heating is old, but it's still not being done great because it's got all sorts of moving pieces. So,
Do you have an opinion on like a recommendation one way or the other based on kind of reliability and?
When we posed the question to Group 14, you know, saying Superior doesn't want to sign on to all gas for the next 30 years, understandably. All electric is very expensive and hard to do. Requires a lot of upfront work to get that at this pool. You know, the answer is, well, a really great solution might be a combined half and half, like do the electric and do a backup gas boiler. From an operations and maintenance perspective, it is a more complicated system. So when we've talked to staff, it's been, you know, they really desire something that's easy to operate and maintain so we don't run into issues, you don't run into costs down the road. But I think going the combined system will lessen your gas usage.
It's just the trade-offs. You're basically buying two engines.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Adam, do you have any thoughts, being that you build these things?
I'll walk the plank. You know, I think you're asking the right questions, right? And everyone's coming from a good place. Operationally, the high-efficiency gas boilers are much simpler to use, they're simpler to fix, and it alleviates some operational requirements from the staff, okay? In a combination with gas and PV, that helps you get to your goal. Doing a combination system can be tricky. And we have had clients that have had challenges that are used to having gas boilers and then adding an electrical component in there and having it challenging with the sequencing and managing it correctly. So if you're asking me from an operational perspective, which is not really what you're saying, I would definitely lean towards a PV and gas system, because it's the most efficient. The other portion of it is the more electrical load you have, the bigger our switchgear gets, the bigger our service size gets, and the more that we're going to require from Excel, and the more costs are going to incur as a result just to bring it to the property. And also, the bigger our service size gets, the more our lead times increase. And they increase dramatically once we get over 800 to 1200 amps. And so when we're looking at the schedule and the holistic picture, going to a gas or going all electric, if that's the goal, that is, but it probably puts your pool in a challenging position to be open for next year. But again, we'd still have to run all the calcs on it, but that's as if this is my pool, I would be doing a combination system. I would be leaning heavily on a new PV system to offset electrical. We also have some increases to, you know, the assemblies for the buildings themselves and adding R values, making them more efficient. All of the heating and cooling systems are more efficient in addition to. So we're looking at the pool and all these components, and that is the biggest portion of your operational savings, but looking at it also in some of the other ways are trying to achieve some of the goals that the town has set forth.
Can you speak to, again, just the staff needs or involvement in a hybrid or type system?
You know, again, on the technical side, it's just understanding a different system that has different components, different usage, different manufacturers. So now you have two systems that you're managing, two manufacturers, and two systems that operate in a different way. They provide a similar result, but they are very different in the way they go about it. So from an operational perspective, managing electric heat is more complicated than a boiler system.
So when people have a system like that, do they typically have a dedicated staff person for that management of that?
They typically have a engineer that is well-versed in the operations of the pool, not just from a chemical balance and pool operations, but also the equipment. And that does sometimes take some training, and it also has some impact on the staffing needs of the city and how you guys want to manage and maintain that. And that's also kind of a broader picture that I don't always have visibility into.
And when you say the word engineer, I just six-figure salary is immediately what comes to mind.
Right, someone that is familiar with the systems and components and can maintain it. You can always do third party, but you know, we're looking at costs here. That just adds another cost for you guys that you have, and to be able to have a staff that can work on the systems as well as other things, I think has a benefit as well.
Thanks.
What about the life expectancy for these systems?
Boiler is going to be approximately 20 years, but you can, something that's serviced really well can last much longer than that. So for a new high-efficiency boiler, I would expect you to have some long-term viability associated with the system itself. Electric is very new. In the heating and pool components, we don't have long runs to show how long they're going to last compared to a more proven technology and systems that have been running for a longer period of time. So I think that's a little bit still out there. They're saying some similar timelines, but we haven't got that far because they're so new.
All right, thank you. Jordan, Leslie, do you have any opinion one way or the other?
We'd like the gas boilers.
Why?
No, I think, talking to staff throughout this process, it has become clear that, kind of the ease of use is pretty important to us. I mean, I do think it could potentially change if we had a dedicated person like they're talking about who could really get into those systems and understand them, but kind of how we work operationally now, I do think it would be a challenge for staff.
From a sustainability perspective, Mike, you probably know this. What is Xcel's current time frame? I know that they're retiring coal-fired power plants right now. Right now, we would, if we had an electric pool heater, it would be in large part powered by coal-fired power plants, supplemented by wind and some solar, but largely coal-fired. When is Xcel retiring all those things? And
So we've opted into the all wind source. Right?
yeah, I mean, we pay extra to be able to say that, but technically the energy's coming. It's fluid.
85% renewable by 2030 is their goal. I don't remember the exact date when they want to retire all the coal-fired power plants. It's maybe 2040, but don't quote me on that.
But from a just kind of a CO2 perspective, are you making less of an impact powering electricity from coal-fired power plants versus a 97% gas efficiency boiler? What has more of a carbon impact?
Anytime you do centralized energy production, that's always going to have a smaller impact. It's the reason why electric car, even though it's powered by coal-fired generation, is still better than your gas-powered engine, because the efficiency of scale at energy production, your fuel source is kind of less of the issue. It's the scale thing. So if you're heating water in a very small tank as opposed to heating water with a very large tank heated by coal, the energy savings are on the coal-fired because of mass. Just massive.
Yeah, and I don't know how efficient gasoline engines are, these days versus a 97% efficiency furnace. So, Anna has her hand up.
Yeah. Hey, this is Anna McCullough with Group 14. So right now we're calculating that Xcel's electricity will be cleaner than natural gas by 2032, right? Burning natural gas has emissions. Creating electricity also has emissions. When you're thinking about these boilers, a condensing boiler is going to operate typically right around that 90 to 94% efficient range when all things are said and done. A electric boiler operates at 100% efficient, right? 1 unit of energy in equals 1 unit of energy out. So when we're talking about emissions and we start talking about as Xcel's grid gets cleaner, we will see within the lifetime of this equipment that there are fewer emissions from the electric boilers than the natural gas.
All right, thank you for that. Would it be fair to say that maybe at the outset that the gas would be more efficient, but then as Xcel retires it, there would be at some point kind of a switch over?
Correct, yeah. For now, natural gas creates fewer emissions than electricity, but beginning in 2032, we expect that Xcel's grid will create fewer emissions than natural gas appliances.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Is this something that we can't switch this over later? When maybe technology's better, gas is the 2032 is essentially, could we go gas now and switch to electric later? Or is this like, we need to make the decision and the decision is done?
I believe you could switch it, yeah. I mean, if we install gas now, but you decide in 5-10 years, you would just switch out the boilers. We have 3-phase service is being upgraded as a part of this project anyway, so you'll have that. To go all electric, you would need the 480. So you'll have to bring in higher service and you'll need like a step-down transformer for that.
But what we wouldn't want to
correct
do
in
is
saying
go
that?
electric and then go gas and not have the gas run. Right, to the mechanical building, right? Like, the time is now to run everything under the ground. It needs to be in the ground, right? But with enough time and money, you can do anything.
So just a question along the lines of, I mean, the current system that's in there right now, did we do a replacement over the last 30 years, or we've just been bootstrapping the existing system for the last, since Richmond gave it to us, we're still on the original system, right? And no one knows the answer to this, do they?
We're still, for the most part, on the original system.
Right, so it's rare that you want to tear out the system midway through without fixing other things. And I'm going to look at the pool experts, because I'm guessing that most of your systems, there isn't a wholesale change on the heating system during the life of the pool.
It's more of a like-for-like system.
Okay.
At replacements than a wholesale change.
Okay, thank you.
So with that comment, in 20 years, we'll be putting in another gas system.
If the current one, if the recommended one fails.
Right.
Or
Well, is that correct? I mean, I think.
I just heard him say that you typically replace like-for-like systems in a retrofit. So unless we plan on completely tearing down the pool house and after the end of its useful life, we'll be replacing the gas system with a new gas system.
Can I clarify?
Yeah. Come up to the podium if you don't mind.
So typically, right, you have a gas boiler that is 60% efficient. The systems are plumbed for it. It is an easy in and out to upgrade a boiler, right? For an equipment setup like this, your pool equipment downstream of the heating element can be the same. You can go and look and do the electric at a later date. We can put in sleeving in preparation for elements to tie into in the future in the equipment room that would allow for runs from the panel to allow for electric so that the infrastructure is there. However, we talked about your service size. It will have to be upgraded. Your panels, your switchgear, and your step-down transformer would have to be in kind to be upgraded at that time. Infrastructure-wise, we could put in sleeving, prep, and other elements to that location that gives you flexibility, with the caveat that you do have some other elements with the system that would need to be upgraded in order to be compatible with a higher electric usage from that perspective, if that makes sense.
So in terms of the $142,000 there for the electric pool heater, so the heater itself is $90K, but then it's the transformer and the panel that's the 50
Yeah, we grouped
Right.
those together
Yeah.
just because they'd all be required.
to get to the 142. So, if we wanted to do a gas boiler and that panel, it would be the 167,800 plus the 50,
Yes.
right? So in terms of the system options, is there anything that we want to kind of eliminate now to help kind of direct where we're headed? It sounds like the big boppers nobody was in favor of, because
I think the heat pumps too.
and the heat pumps, the big boppers are really loud and they're just not going to work for us, and the heat pumps. So that kind of leaves us with the electric heaters, the gas boilers, the gas electric combo, and then the solar PV.
To Stephanie's comment, to start this off, I really think we should look at a lease or a power purchase agreement rather than paying capital for solar, because as Group 14 shared with, by 2032, it's going to be mostly all, renewable on the Excel grid, so the value of PV is going to decrease over time, and so I think we could use that $221,000 in capital towards something else.
Okay. Do we have, on the electric pool heater, do we have data on other pools in the area that have gone to electric?
For our outdoor pools, I believe the Carbondale is the only other
Carbondale's the only
example,
one?
and it's under construction
Okay.
currently.
Yeah. I mean, so that's kind of my big hang up. Like, if this was like proven and like we could point to like 10 other municipalities that have done projects like this in the past 5 years, and it's working and you know, it hasn't been breaking down and hasn't kind of caused unforeseen, you know, challenges, I'd 100% be all for it, right? Like that's my main kind of hang up here is it going to work?
And I think that's the broader question is nobody's stepping up to be a leader, so everybody else is waiting for everybody else to step up. And so it becomes this vicious cycle of nobody stepping up because nobody's stepping up.
I just want to like remind, because the thing I keep thinking of is the community voted to give us this money because I believe in direct response to pool closures and issues with not having consistency with the pool being open. And so right now there's no data to support that the electric side of the system is going to keep the pool open, which was the whole point of why they gave us the money to update the pools. So I feel like without the data or some historical support of this being a reliable, consistent answer, it's really hard to support that. And additionally, as a council, we have told staff that they need to let us know and have faith and that we will support not overloading them and not setting them up for failure. And this leaning in towards a system that is not proven, and also creating a situation where staff has to be more educated or we have to bring in another person to manage it is, again, the opposite of what we have been saying that we want to do. And so I just, like, those 2 points alone leave me not wanting to move in a direction of something that's not predictable. I did like the idea of the possibility of having lead-ins to that maybe in 10 years when the technology is there, that we already have the infrastructure that's ready for it. And I know that's more money down the road, but it's terrifying to me to think of saying yes to being the guinea pig of this, because the whole reason that we put that on the ballot to get residents to approve it was because the pools were failing. And so if we spend all that money and then we have pool closures because we have a system that's not working well enough to support however many months we want to stay open, then we have totally messed the whole thing up. How do we answer to residents then? Like, they will not care about sustainability goals when they can't go to the pool because the system is overheated or it's not doing what it's supposed to, or and that I'm just going to stay rooted in, like, that's who the boss is here, and I have to answer to them. So that it makes it really hard to, like, look at this from a different perspective.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%, and also be very interested so that we're set up in the future to be able to switch to electric when that is a proven system, to address that now and putting in whatever that infrastructure, mechanical, whatever that looks like, because it's going to be cheaper now than it's going to be in 10, 15 years. I'd rather spend the money now and not have to spend more money later. And then as this system starts to get older or technology is better and proven, that we can then easily switch over without a huge capital outlay. We've already kind of got that set up. So I would be in favor of spending a little extra money now to do that. Are we all on board with the April to October, or are we still needing to discuss a year round?
sense.
Okay, so that's put to bed. Okay, perfect. So then I don't need to say anything about that. So I'm good.
I mean, my feeling with the year-round flexibility, I like the idea of us being as flexible as possible in general. But if we're going to spend $400,000 on something, then it better well be like critical to what we want to accomplish here. So like, I'm not in favor of the $400,000 investment on the heated pool deck. But like, if it's a question of making tweaks to the design here and there to give us the flexibility to open April to October or March to November, something like that, I'd be open to spending additional money, but making a 10% capital outlay on the whole project for something that we're not convinced that we need, I'm not in favor of.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from the one resident that we all heard from, and then talking to some of the staff at the pool, there was interest in like swimming groups from outside of Superior, which is lovely, but I'm not really wanting to spend our taxpayer money to help swim groups that are elsewhere. So for me, the extra money, I think, April to October or March to November, great, if we can make tweaks, but I think spending that much money for such a small minority, largely of which is not even our residents, is not something I would be in favor of.
You're like, right now, the high school team swims over at the Louisville Rec Center, I believe. And the women swim, the girls team swims in the winter, and then the boys team swims in the spring. Like, I could see, the possibility of maybe the Louisville Rec Center all of a sudden is not an option for the Monarch High School swim team, maybe in the spring. And if all of a sudden they approached us and said, hey, we'd love to open up the pool in March or in April and start doing practices there, I would like us to have the flexibility to offer something like that. If the girls team said, hey, we'd like you to open up in January, that's something where we say, I don't think it's designed for that, but like, I would like to have the flexibility to do something like that where we're actually serving, residents of this town who go to the high school right here, who would use it. So to have the flexibility to do something like that, I would like us to design it in a way that gives us, that sort of flexibility.
I think to add that flexibility, I would recommend we do insulate the pool mechanical building, which was one of those line items from the capital costs. That would kind of enable you a little bit earlier in the spring and a little bit later in the fall without, we wouldn't need the additional heating capacity. I think just the one heater in there would be fine, but the insulation will keep more of the heat that the equipment's generating in the building and just give you a little cushion maybe with that equipment running at lower temperatures.
Right. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I think, because that wasn't like a huge,
18,000,
yeah, that
I think
wasn't
it
like a
was
huge
about.
dollar amount.
20,000, it looks like. I mean, that's, yeah, that's not the 497 that we were looking at for the total, but.
Right. So that is one thing I'd probably recommend we go ahead and put into the scope for that cushion on either end.
Yeah, so I'm generally supportive of those kind of like, relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, upgrades to give us flexibility. But if it's the $400,000 outlay for the heated floor, not in favor. So in terms of where we're going at for heating the pool, we need to give some direction here, right?
Maybe the right direction is go down the gas boiler path for today with the panel board and the stepped up transformers. So the extra 50K. I'm not saying go down the gas electric combo today because that's sort of like having two engines, and we don't need two engines right now. But I do like the thought of future proofing it. Because I know where the sustainability plan is, and I know what we need to be doing, but we're a small municipality, and I do agree that I don't want to be the small municipality that tried to go all electric before everybody else did and have to tear it out halfway through. it pains me to say this because I know it can be done, and that's the thing, is it's just, we don't have good, solid proof of concepts that we can point to as yet. So it's an incremental 50K over just the gas boilers, which is not small, but at least it does give us the ability to kind of manage for that, over the next 10 years, and transition as needed.
Okay, sorry, before we go too far down
Yeah.
that road and everyone agrees that we want to do the 50K, I don't think we're sure that Excel will actually let us
Interesting.
plan that far ahead. So I think what we were talking about was more like the infrastructure that we could build into the mechanical room, but not necessarily.
That actually makes
put the
more sense,
panel.
because they're not going to give us a transformer that we're not using. That's a really good point.
Yes, so before you all
And we
vote
actually don't want
say
to buy a
that's the route.
transformer that we're not using, because that's very expensive. So fair point. Okay. So it's, got it.
But you'd have infrastructure in place to add it in the future.
Yeah.
Pathways.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Okay.
Where would that transformer have to go?
It's not going in place of the other transformer. They're trying to place a little further to existing Excel equipment. That's at the corner on Indiana Street, but we don't have a solid location yet.
Okay. All right. Others, Heather?
I'm comfortable with that, but also hearing the discussion, as I tend to be the quiet one, would like to look back at the Sustainability Action Plan, and having not been part of that conversation the first time I go around, maybe at a work session in the future, to kind of look at where we're going with the structures we are committed to, and is there a way we can be better stewards and lead by example? Because I don't want to dilute your knowledge and your expertise that we have at this time, to really look at something, and can we evolve and maybe make a stepped process. So sorry to take up your time for this, but I think it's something that's heightened our awareness through 2 buildings now that maybe I did not realize where it was as important as it should be. So I just want to make sure that doesn't get lost.
All right. Mike, anything further? We know where you stand. Yes. All right, so it sounds like we're at least majority directionally in favor of going with the gas boiler as high efficiency as you can get it. And then give us whatever flexibility you can. So if we wanted to retrofit something in the future and go all electric, we're, as positioned as we possibly can to do that without incurring ridiculous costs of tearing out something that we just rebuilt.
Okay?
All right.
And then we are going to move forward with the option 2 for the bathhouse layout.
Yes.
And we are planning April through end of October for the pool season, and no year-round operations.
That's right.
Just confirming that.
I just also want to clarify that we're going to ditch the capital cost of the PV system and go with the power purchase agreement or a lease option, so we can still get the benefit of solar electric, but not have the capital outlay.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Because to Neil's earlier point, with Xcel Energy rates going up on average 3 to 3.2% a year, we get a 20-year fixed power purchase agreement. We're probably benefiting significantly year 10 or 11. So that's nothing but positive cash flow for the town for 9 years plus. So
that solar PV would be what, supplementing the energy, the electricity usage at the bathhouse and the pool?
Yeah, so we could upgrade the system you have now to make it more efficient.
And how efficient or inefficient is the one that we currently have?
How inefficient?
Is it working? Really? I mean, it's working.
I have got a report from Namaste on it, which I can share with you, that gave some information about the existing. They made some upgrades in 2019 to it, but I can share that with you.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know that we could use a whole 50 kilowatt system. That's a really big system if we're using gas heat.
Yes, if we have gas, we wouldn't need that.
Right.
That much, because that would have required a lot more panels on the site too.
Yeah, so let's just make sure that we're being
Right sizing
smart.
it, yeah.
So you would just want to kind of look at replacing the same square, like area on the bathhouse roof that you have now.
I mean, I think the point that Neil was making is we don't want to have something that is producing more than we need, right? So, but one question that I have, and I asked this when we were talking about, I think, putting solar panels over at the Public Works building. So to the extent that we're buying our electricity through like the wind source credits right now, like, does it make sense to put solar panels on things if we're technically buying our electricity from sustainable sources?
But that's what I'm saying with the power purchase agreement, we're not buying solar panels. We're basically allowing somebody else to put their panels on our roof and we get the electricity at a fixed rate for 20 years. So we have no capital outlay, we have no maintenance expenses. So we're basically stabilizing our electricity rates for 20 years.
There's a bunch of different versions of it. We can do a solar farm where the panels are put somewhere else and we're just buying the electricity. But again, we're not going to solve that here. There's some experts out there that are more akin to what's going on in the latest regulatory environment because everything changed about 3 weeks ago. So yeah, like right now, speculating on the right structure is exactly that. But the rules and credits have all just drastically changed. 2 weeks. That was a freaking week ago. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd much rather do a power purchase agreement or leasing or some option like that rather than purchasing, just for all the reasons you outlaid and the fact that we don't need to insure it. I mean, it just seems like it's a lot less capital for the exact same amount of benefit. So I'd encourage us to look at that for this. And I think Public Works, we had tabled that to look at that later, but just something to keep on our radar for that
Yeah,
as
for
well.
this, we'll look at the current system and a new system with one of those two options and see what makes more sense for the building.
And so I think that makes sense, right? In terms of
Yeah.
direction to you.
Yeah, and we'll just look at right sizing the system for what you'll need with the new renovation.
And looking into this lease option. And then you'll follow up with the swim team about kind of where they're going to connect with power and internet
Losing that area of the deck.
in terms of like whether they could still fit over there, if they need to go someplace else. If they need to go someplace else, hopefully we can design, connectivity to wherever they're going to go. Just
Yeah.
like if we're going to make the improvements, let's make sure that it works for all the users.
Okay.
And then just big picture question for Adam. We're on schedule. This is doable. We're going to open on time.
This is really important. It's because essentially everything is driven off the decisions made of electric usage, the one line, the panel schedules, and then purchasing all the equipment. We cannot start with our equipment and back into everything else if we don't have this direction. So if we don't have this direction here, we are in a challenging place to be open for 2026, candidly. If we can point a direction and be on the same page, we can make it. But we have to be steadfast in the direction that we are going, both the floor plan as well as the systems, because they drive all of the engineering and backgrounds and all the other pieces that we have that are critical to hitting those dates, as well as just our lead time and procurements.
Okay. And in terms of the schedule for actually starting construction and all that, if you don't mind just coming up to the podium, what can we expect? What can the community expect to see?
So right now, we're working through a schedule collectively. We shared it with BRS and the Superior team. So we're working through, this was essentially our inflection point for DD release and timing. So we're going to update our schedule to do that. I still think that we're probably starting, late August at the very best, maybe right at the big end of pool season. I really don't want to tear up your pool to have it sit. And we still have permitting and some other pieces to go. So based on some of the preliminary discussions we had on our schedule and our timing with the consultants, given this direction, we believe we can make that and push forward. We will be doing a demo permit to start to push forward the sequence. But I don't have an exact date. I wouldn't say it would be any time before the middle of August, though. to start the project at the best case scenario. We are looking probably in those next 3 weeks to actually start. And I really, like I said, I want to give you the usage of the pool as long as you can and making sure that we're being efficient with the time that we have there. If we can use it and we can be efficient and it helps our timeline, we'll take it. But otherwise, I'm not going to tear it up and have a bunch of people with floaties on yelling at me by the fence. So.
Fair enough.
Okay.
And Jordan, Leslie, when are we basically done now with North Pool? Is there anything else you're anticipating would be coming before us for decisions? And if so, when?
I think the next time we would have to come before you all is when we get a guaranteed maximum price from AD Miller. So once we get a little further along in the drawings or in the plans, they'll put that together for us. And Adam, I think you guys might do like a preliminary and then hone in on it a little more. So there may be a couple that are presented to you all for approval, kind of like, I think you've done that with the O&M building. I think there have been a couple iterations of that. So it'll kind of look like that.
Okay. Yeah, project updates as the project progresses are always appreciated. So let's.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. And then now we can start turning to the South Pole, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so
Mary.
much.
Appreciate all of your patience and continued efforts to get this thing figured out. All right, it is 8:25. Why don't we take 10 minutes and we'll be back at 8:35. All right, we're just waiting on Neil. Or Mike.
But then it fell out of contract with my messages a couple
Yeah.
days ago. I didn't go lower.
All right, we are back, and we're going to call an audible and move item 6, which is our advisory committee interviews ahead of the consent agenda, item 5. We thank all of our applicants' patience for coming here, and Town Manager Magley, starting off with ACES.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. We have 3 interviews tonight, 2 for ACES and 1 for our CAPS committee. We'll start with Sarah Londorf. Sarah? No?
No,
Anybody on Zoom, Mayor?
I don't see her.
Okay. We'll look to reschedule that. Patrick Payne.
Yep.
Yeah, come on up.
come on
and
down.
Introduce yourself. Yeah, please.
If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving on ACES.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Payne. I'm a Superior resident. I've been in the town for about 6 years. I am a tech support leader working in SaaS startups for most of my career. I have long had a desire to be involved in sustainability initiatives at the community level. It's something I'm very passionate about. I have kids who have kind of gotten to the age now where I can sort of get away, one going into 8th grade and another in high school. So a little bit more flexibility to my schedule. And I saw the opening on the website, and it seemed like the right time to throw my hat in the ring, so to speak. So in terms of just kind of a quick where I think I can add value briefly, and then, the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The skills that I think kind of translate or could potentially translate here are project management, team leadership, and I think most importantly, a strong background in collaboration, interdepartmental collaboration, working with a very wide range of people professionally to achieve projects and move the needle. So.
All right, well, thanks for that introduction, and I'll turn it over to the council for questions.
Okay.
I'm sure you just heard the conversation we had about the North Pool.
A little bit of it, yeah.
A little bit. So my first question is, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinion on that discussion and where you think the town should go.
I don't know that I heard enough of it to be able to give a cogent opinion. I apologize. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, then my second question is, what would success look like to you after completing your terms on ACES?
That's a great question. So the city and that advisory committee has already done what I think is really great work building out the sustainability plan and the goals. And I think what I would love to be able to do is move the needle forward. I think some specific areas that I'm particularly passionate about is reducing or eliminating plastic usage, reducing water usage. I think a good example of that is the work that was just done on Rock Creek to Zero Escape, the median, and all that work. I think anything that can be done to move that forward. The other thing that I would love to be able to lean in on is community outreach and awareness and education at the community level. I think even myself as someone who's concerned and tries to stay aware was not aware of everything that the city was involved in and the work that was being done. So I think that's something that I could participate in. Communication is a big part of my career. And I think I'm pretty good at outreach and good at education. And I think moving that forward would be really valuable.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I love that because the community outreach and education is a huge piece of it. And I think while we're all like trying to do our best, there's having new eyes look at that is really important. So I'm curious if there's anything, so you've only been here 6 years. I've only been here 5 years myself as well. And that's new to Superior for people that have lived here since Rock Creek was built in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, since you're coming into the community in a shorter term, where you may have seen things that you'd like to see done here, or things, again, with new eyes, like where's something that what's something that you've seen, or something that we could implement here that you know has worked somewhere else that we might not be looking at or approaching here? It's okay if you don't have a specific.
You can just say we're perfect. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, we are superior.
Yeah, man, that's a really good question, and I would really love to have a thoughtful answer to that.
That's okay.
Because it's, I think, I'm not going to BS my way out of it. That wouldn't be worthwhile.
That's the right answer.
So it's a great question, and it's something I would love to think about and spend time with the committee on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any additional questions? All right. Well, thank you for volunteering your time and applying to serve the community. We'll be taking action on this at a future town council meeting, so stay tuned.
Awesome. Great. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next is for the CAPS committee is Artis Leibowitz.
Come on down.
You got artists right. I'm impressed. It's Artis Leibowitz. I have been in Superior for 1 year. I was in Cherry Creek for 14 years, so it's quite a change. I am in my son's townhouse, and he has owned that since 2005, I think. So they just decided to move where they could have land in Lyons. So I've been here a year. Finding community is very important for me, and I have to tell you, you guys have the greatest community center. It's almost as good as the neighborhood I had in Cherry Creek, where everybody was my age and there was a lot going on. But I do find that it's a great place with really good programs, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. I'll turn it to questions. Thank you. Welcome to the community, first off.
Thank you.
And we're really happy to see
I've been around it for a long time.
But now you belong.
Now I belong, yes. Thank you.
Questions?
I saw that you were obviously heavily involved with the Denver Art Museum and are helping out volunteering there, so thank you for doing that. And saw that you're already jumping in with programming at the Superior Community Center with the seniors and doing a collage workshop, and just wanted to see what other ideas you have since you are volunteering and coming up with other events. What events besides that do you think would be good for our residents here?
Well, first, I have gone to a couple of your other events. You had an artist talk a couple weeks ago that was really good. I think I love that idea. I love the idea of getting the community more involved with maybe an art show or something like that. But I felt that maybe there needed to be more outreach for the events that I've been to. I went to the night you had the photography exhibit, and I think, like at the art museum, one of the programs I'm working on is enrichment for the volunteers. So we do a lot there's a weekly newsletter, which you also have, but we do like flyers, and even if you don't want to paste paper flyers up, your website, you could put up some really, I'm sure you have somebody that does that kind of graphic art stuff very well. And I just felt they were both great programs, but I just thought there was more need for the outreach. And I guess I'm kind of hoping that with the great areas in downtown, that maybe there's some way to program more for the community, or if you're doing public art, like in Cherry Creek, they have art on a lot of streets, and I think they kind of do it as part of their annual art festival, but they have put in art, and your downtown's kind of like Cherry Creek as they've modernized it. So I guess I'm kind of hoping to maybe have it be more part of the community, or more outreach to the community.
That art in Cherry Creek that you're talking about, I'm curious, is that sculptures or on the street or on the walls or a combination?
They
Is
have
that permanent?
sculptures on the street. They have different things like that. They had this fabulous little water thing, but they're building a new building, so they tore it out. But it's probably mostly sculpture. But you could do things like the community center has great art, and the art you're talking about on the art trail kind of thing would be really, that sounds great to me too.
Oh, thank you.
Others, questions? Mike?
Same question I asked Patrick, which is, what would success look like to you after completing your term on CAPS?
Maybe that I was able to help you guys, help the city be successful in incorporating more art or more programs that people look forward to, or more annual kinds of things.
Others? Well, I'll close with just welcome to the community again.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always appreciate from people who are new to the community is that they bring a fresh set of eyes, fresh perspective. They will be able to borrow from what worked in their previous communities and like give us some new ideas of things that we haven't considered. Communication is something that we're always trying to work on improving. It's a constant challenge, and no matter how much we do, and we do a lot, we still miss a lot of people, right? And there are challenges based on the different forums that some people get their news online, on Facebook or whatnot. Some people totally don't like Facebook. They like to read a paper magazine. They want to read the newspaper. There's always different ways of communicating, and we need to do our best to communicate in all those avenues. So I'm hopeful that you can bring your perspective as a newer resident to our community and talk about what work done in Cherry Creek and with the Art Museum, and bring some fresh ideas to help us just build that better mousetrap and communicate better with all of the residents here directly in town and elsewhere, because there's no point in having all this great art and great programming if nobody knows about it, right? So we want to constantly improve in that area. So don't be shy, speak up, let us know what your ideas are, and we will be acting on this application at a future meeting.
Okay, thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Appreciate it. All right, we are now moving back on to our item 5, which is our consent agenda. We have pulled item 5D. So at this time, we have item 5A, B, C, E, F, G, H, and I. So I'll entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Got a motion from Councilmember Shaw.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Foster, and we'll do a roll call vote on this, please.
Councilmember Foster,
Yes.
Councilmember Craycraft,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cowish,
Yes.
Mayor Lasis,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
All right, passes unanimously, and Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Serbu is absent currently. 5D.
I pulled it, and thankfully Brandon's here. Brandon, the main thing here I want to talk about a little bit is the dedicated turn lane that exists between Tyler and Rock Creek Parkway. It's a very long, goofy turn lane. And what I'd hoped is that we were maybe going to try to eliminate it, or what I couldn't. So we're not doing any curb and gutter movement. But could you kind of walk us through what the plan is here for getting people to stop using that and then passing bikes on the right?
Yeah, so the plan and the design is to convert this long right turn lane to a bike lane. So with the project, we're just doing mill and overlay. So we're doing a 2-inch mill and overlay. We're actually having to do quite a bit of leveling course as well due to drainage issues that exist on the road. So without removing all the asphalt, we didn't think it would be in the best interest from a budget perspective to move the curb line. I think in a perfect world, that would have been our preference.
Okay.
But as you can see here, we striped it to be a bike lane with a buffer. And I think it's a larger buffer. I think it's about a 5-foot buffer between the bike lane and then obviously a very large bike lane, probably about a 10-foot bike lane.
Okay.
And we will put bike symbols in it. We are actually adding the green striping. Broomfield's plans you can't see, but we've reviewed their design. They have the green intersection striping going in here. So where we stop, Broomfield picks up. So Broomfield will have the green striping here, so that'll be pretty clear. And then the bike symbols will continue all the way down until you get to the Rock Creek intersection where we are adding green bike lane striping. While this doesn't meet our volume warrants, we added it just to highlight that it is a bike lane and it's ending.
The reason I pulled this also, because I appreciate everything here, is this a place, because this bike lane now is like really big and people are accustomed to using this thing as a continuous turn lane, what's the sort of training plan for drivers to not use it as a extended turning lane? Is it maybe put the bollards up or something just so that bikers realize, okay, bollards are not appreciated. Because it's such a long, goofy turn lane, how do we ensure that a car doesn't go in there out of just gross habit? Because it's been a turn lane for 25 years.
It's a good question. So, time's up. So what we typically do is anytime we have a new traffic pattern, we'll often put signage out, like a message board, and we'll do that for a week, maybe two. This is obviously a pretty minor change because we're not moving asphalt, so I can see your concern. Flex posts are definitely an option. We're actually going to have leftover flex posts. We're going to move these from other projects, so we can definitely add them. And we can see how the behavior works and see if we need them and see if drivers are responding to them.
Okay. Yeah. No, I appreciate this is the right direction since we're not doing the concrete. And then we're going to do this here pretty soon. What's the thinking on the Broomfield side of it and when they plan to do it? Because as bad as our section is, their section is way worse.
Yeah. Ironically enough, there's probably been 4 pothole rim damages that have come in on the Colton section this year alone. So I've sent that to the Broomfield folks. Sorry, I said Colton, the Broomfield section. So we've been coordinating with them actively. They plan to start in September, and our contractor is showing starting in September as well. We're hoping to expedite that. We're in the middle of paving season, so all the contractors are busy, but that's been Broomfield's current schedule is September. But we will have to coordinate because they can't close the north side and we close the south side. So we've been actively coordinating throughout this process and we'll continue to do so until it's completed.
Okay. Yeah, no other questions from me. Thanks.
And I think the time frame, I think the contractor had like 9 days on this, so it will go fast.
It's pretty quick.
Once we start. Yeah.
How confident are you in so I know that there was the discussion in the memo about the 3D mill versus the traditional mill, and just because there is so much like heaving on that section of Colton, like versus doing reconstruction, like do you think the mill and overlay is really going to be sufficient?
I think so. So we've seen a lot of settling, and it's mainly been around manholes that exist on the Broomfield side. So We think a lot of those issues are associated with some of the patchwork that's happened around those manholes, so we've been coordinating with Broomfield on that. We did look at the 3D mill and overlay. We were hoping it would be a kind of a substantial cost savings, but it wasn't. And the thought process there, you do a shallower mill. I think we'll get a better product with the full mill and the leveling course. We'll actually end up with some pretty deep asphalt sections, but we think that will obviously help. We did find that some sections of Colton actually have some subgrade, so that was good to see when we did the geotech throughout there. In a perfect world, we'd be doing a full reconstruction, but we don't have the budget for it. And Broomfield has no interest in that. They were initially just going to do a 1-inch hot in place mill, which we expressed a lot of concerns with. They went back to their council and they're going to do the same project we're doing with a 2-inch mill and overlay. So even if we did the perfect project, it would end right there at Tyler Drive, and residents don't know the difference.
Right.
I get calls daily about their section.
Yeah, is there a way to like put a designator in the road that just shows that like we stop here and they start over there? So, no, people complain about that road all the time, and I'm like, that's not ours.
Boulder County has.
And they're like, I don't believe you. I'm like, it really isn't.
County maintenance starts here, yeah. Broomfield maintenance starts here, yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of complaints about the signal timing there too, which we can't control, and we've shared that with Broomfield.
Yeah, the signals are terrible.
Yeah.
And just the last question, I think it's page, there's no page numbers. Page 3.2. It's like the second, that one right there. There was a crosswalk painted and it disappeared on the Broomfield side. And it's kind of, but a lot of people cross from Bell Flatirons to Lifetime. Are we going to add the crosswalk back in? Because it's not in the drawing.
You're talking about this crosswalk here crossing Colton?
Yeah.
Broomfield is doing that.
They are, okay.
Yes, Broomfield's doing the crosswalk, and I can forward council the Broomfield plans as part of the weekly digest.
That'd be
Yes.
great, yeah.
Broomfield's picking up striping right here behind the stop bar, and they are doing
Okay.
crosswalks on all
Okay.
4 corners of this intersection. Actually, I misspoke. They're not doing the side streets, they're doing the main streets. The side streets will be separate.
All right. Yeah, fine. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yep.
Any other questions for staff? I'll open up for public comment. Anybody would like to give public comment on this item since it's been pulled? Anybody on Zoom? Seeing none. Entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve Town of Superior Resolution Number R-43, Series 2025, a resolution of Town Council of the Town of Superior approving the contract with Asphalt Specialties Company, Inc. for the Colton Road Mill and Overlay Project.
We've got a motion from Councilmember
Second.
Shaw, second from Councilmember Craycraft. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Mayor Lasis,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Foster,
Yes.
Councilmember Cowish,
Yes.
Councilmember Craycraft.
Yes.
All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Brandon. All right, we are on to our final item for the evening, which is item number 7. It's a public hearing and second reading, consideration of an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Superior approving annexation to the town real property known as Turnbull and zoning such property as planned development. And we have proof of publication, which we had last time.
Matt should have it, but yes.
All right. We're already gavelled in from last time, so we're gavelled in again.
What did I just do? There we go. Okay.
Welcome,
Good
Renee.
evening. My name is Renee Stavros, Planning and Building Director for the town. This evening, we are discussing the second reading of Guardian Storage Annexation and PD zoning. The property is the Turnbull property. It's located at 1599 South 76th Street, south of the Guardian Storage property, west of Target and Costco, and north of the Sagamore neighborhood. I can't. Oh, there it goes. Just kidding, sorry. The application is to annex the property, the Turnbull property, to the town of Superior. It's being done in accordance with the town's municipal codes listed here, section 16510, 16530, and 16540, as well as the Annexation Act of 1965, and sections 16730A and section 1611030 of the town's municipal code. The petition for annexation was filed with the town clerk and referred to the town council for a finding of substantial compliance, which was approved May 12th. And that set the hearing for town council to review the annexation portion of this project. And then concurrent with the annexation petition, they have the PD zoning, which is being proposed in accordance with section 16730 and 1611030. The Planning Commission met on June 17th to review this. They voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the proposed annexation and PD zoning. An update from the previous presentation from June 23rd was in your packet in the cover memo. I reviewed the transit-oriented communities bill, which requires additional housing density around the transit station. And because this property is being zoned as an industrial use, it's exempt from being part of that, that bill. So there's no additional housing units that are required as part of annexing the property in. It also isn't part, because of the January of this year was when the bill was effective. And so the property wasn't part of the town at that time. So technically it's not considered, but in the future, if it were to be part of the town and be considered part of the area, it's still exempt because of the land use that's being proposed. And Kevin is here this evening from Guardian Storage to provide a little quick update, and then we'll take your questions.
Welcome, Kevin.
Hello again. I'm Kevin Cohen, one of the managing partners for Guardian Storage here in Superior. Been a Boulder County resident for 26 years and been housing over here or officing here in Superior for the last 13 years. And I'm going to be quick tonight. I'm going to throw strikes and condense what I presented a couple weeks ago into 4 short bullets as to why, I think the project should be approved. First, we're bringing a needed product to the market, both in the flex space and the self-storage component potentially. Flex space does not exist here in Superior today. It's a ownable, usable, scalable, flexible product that will support and create a vibrant community of end users that might include small business, light distribution, craftsmen, artists, hobbyists, and recreationists, among others. Self-storage is also a needed product, and I spoke about this a couple weeks ago, that it's becoming an extension of the multifamily product that you've built downtown that will continue to be built, potentially around our project. It is that extra closet that people don't have room for in their small apartments. It's where they store their seasonal clothes, their Christmas decorations, their sporting goods, etc. Secondly, the current comp plan recommends, current recommendation is for light industrial or medium medium density multifamily. And I think when considering multifamily or our use, we're going to bring concessions to the neighbors concerned, which we know about from communicating directly with them. Some of the concessions that we were able to make in our PD, above and beyond what light industrial would normally allow, are on the setbacks, the heights, the lights shining south into the neighbors' properties, as well as a list of prohibited uses that we know that we do not want on the property. And if there's any rehashing needed on any of this, I'm happy to go back to it, and I have the presentation from a couple weeks ago. And finally, we are a low impact, low traffic use, pretty quiet use, and if our PD is approved and we're allowed to expand our property, we'll continue to be the same quality neighbor that we've been to the Sagamore neighborhood, as well as the larger Superior community for the last 15 years.
All right, well, thanks for that update.
Sure.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, any questions for staff? All right.
Thank you.
I'll open it up for public comment. Anybody like to give public comment? All right. Anybody on Zoom like to give public comment on this application? Seeing none, I'll circle it back to council. Any questions? Speak now.
Yeah, just a comment. I think we sent the notice out to all the residents that within 1,000 feet, so people have been informed. It's been, at least the Sagamore neighborhood's aware of it. I don't think we've had any opposition that I've seen, or sort of even notes to the council in support, or even, again, we did have one. So, and I think there's a holistic concern when you buy a house and the builder tells you that the space next to it is going to be this forever, and then it changes. A lot of people get concerned, because we did, just so full transparency, we got an email from somebody on Saturday after the concert complaining about the noise. Well, this was the plan. This was always set up, except the amphitheater was supposed to be on the other side, and things had to change. So things change, and it's unfortunate, but realistically, I think the applicant has done a good job with the agreement here in terms of in terms of everything that's going on. So I've got nothing specific that I could suggest that would suggest that I could turn this down. I think it's a well put together application, and I think it reflects a market need.
Let me close the public hearing and we can.
Oh, I'm
move to
sorry. I
discussion.
thought it was closed. I thought you gavelled. Sorry. Sorry.
Discussion.
Yeah. Just gonna repeat what I said.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good.
For me, I appreciate the outreach that you did to the neighbors. I know we had suggested that when you first initially brought the proposal forward months and months ago. So I appreciate that you did that outreach, and then very much appreciate the concessions that you've made. I mean, more than doubling the setbacks, basically cutting in half the height that you could have gone to. I know we have heard from one concerned resident, and when you look at light industrial or medium density, I think that is going to be a more impactful use for those in Sagamore. You're going to get more traffic, probably not these concessions on setbacks and height. I think this is a better use for that property. One, to Neil's point, it addresses a need. I know that from what I've heard of people in the community, these would go like instantly. So it's an unmet need. And one that I think, when you look at the fencing and the trees and everything else that you're doing, it will be a low impact to the neighborhood, whereas other things would be a higher impact. Anything short of, I think, keeping that open space and being on OSAC and looking at the list of properties and where this ranked. There was discussion about this back when I was on OSAC, so it's been a little bit. But when this came up in discussion, it wasn't high on the priority list because it didn't really meet a need. It kind of seemed incongruent with, meeting up with trails or, running along, any sort of waterway. It didn't make a whole lot of sense for open space. And I know that residents in Sagamore would love for that to be open space, but realistically, it's not going to be open space. It's going to be something. And so I think if it's going to be something, I'd rather it be something like this where it's low impact and meeting an unmet need than putting something else on the property that is going to irritate neighbors. So for me, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Stephanie, just to add on to that, at last Wednesday's OSAC meeting, they talked about kind of their trail wish list, and this property was actually identified as a potential trail connection from sort of behind Costco to a future trail design through the agricultural open space to the west. Now they acknowledge that this was sort of longer range out and sort of pie in the sky, but it is something that OSAC has identified as a potential trail connection. But I think given the application, I think that's probably a better use, given that there are no existing trails now, and I think there are some better trail connections that OSAC can make. So I'm in support of this.
I am in support of this as well, but I do want to acknowledge everything that Sagamore has gone through. But I think what makes this feel safer for me is the long-term relationship that you've had with the community, and that you also went through that there, and so that the what you're offering to bring there, I think is going to be the best that it can be, to have something there for them. And there's, whenever this comes up in the community, people are really excited about it. And I'm literally in the process of buying a bigger house because we don't fit. And this would have been a need for our family. It's not anymore though, but I think there's a lot of people that are very excited about it. And it just feels, not that these things always have to feel good, but it feels better that you are already in relationship with this community. And I have a feeling there will be some folks in Sagamore that may want to take advantage of this as an opportunity. So yeah, just well done.
Perfect segue to what I was going to say, Jen, so thank you. Having our businesses as partners is, I think, crucial to our community. I think we both benefit from that. So Kevin, and to your team, all the people that work there have been fantastic partners. You and I have talked about this in the past, having you as a partner for the town staff as well as individuals, whether we house our, fire truck there or anything else that is needed. I have been a client as well, and appreciate everything you guys have done. I think your concern for the community as a whole, and then your concern for those immediate neighbors is well appreciated, to go that extra distance, and then to respect the Turnbull's, property and moving forward, I think said a lot during our last meeting. So thank you for your efforts and working with town staff, and hopefully we will be celebrating a ribbon cutting soon.
All right. Not to belabor the point, but I echo everything that has been said so far. I appreciate the application. I appreciate that. Obviously, there was a tremendous tragedy and catastrophe that happened with the Marshall Fire, and that affected the Turnbull family. But the fact that the Turnbull family is in favor of this application, and Kevin, that you've been a good neighbor to them and a good partner in putting this application forward to make the most of a bad situation and help us move forward. I think the fact that we haven't had substantial opposition from the Sagamore neighborhood is a very important aspect of considering a major land use application. And I think if this was inconsistent with the neighborhood, we would have certainly heard from them, and we're not hearing that. So that to me is a very critical piece that needs to be considered in this decision. As we move forward into the final development plan process, I hope just continue to be a good neighbor and in any of the designs for the actual structures that are going to be built are built in a way that take into consideration the neighbors, as they should, and I know that they will, but I'm just going to say it publicly that design them in a way that is a complement to the neighborhood and is not a negative impact to the neighbors to the west, south. Nick, you sent me a finding of fact. What do you need me to say here?
Whenever you guys are ready to start approving things, I can bring up what you guys need to say.
All right, so I have no concerns about this. I think that this property should be annexed into the town of Superior. It makes sense for it to be in Superior versus being in Boulder County. And I think that the rezoning application to this planned development use is a smart decision. So I'm fully in support. So with that said, we have a resolution, right?
Correct.
We have an ordinance.
So it'll be a resolution and one ordinance.
Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff in the packet, but those are the actual things that we need motions on to approve.
All right.
Resolution has to come first.
The resolution has to come first?
Yes. No, we did that one already. The substantial compliance resolution made it in the packet by accident. It should be the resolution of a finding of fact, which we have printed out and I emailed to you guys for review.
Yes. All right. So I'll make the motion because you emailed it here. So make a motion to approve Town of Superior Resolution number R-47,
47.
Series 2025. The resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Superior making certain findings of fact regarding the proposed annexation to the town of the real property known as Turnbull. Got a motion from Mayor Lasis. Second from Councilmember Foster. And roll call vote, please.
Mayor Lasis,
Yes.
Councilmember Foster,
Yes.
Councilmember Cowish,
Yes.
Councilmember Craycraft,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
All right, passes unanimously. And we have I'll make a motion to approve Town of Superior Ordinance number O-13, Series 2025, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Superior annexing to the town the real property known as Turnbull, zoning such property as planned development, and approving the associated annexation agreement. Motion from Mayor Lasis.
Second.
From Councilmember Craycraft. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Craycraft,
Yes.
Councilmember Cowish,
Yes.
Councilmember Foster,
Yes.
Mayor Lasis.
Yes. All right, passes unanimously. That's it, right? Nothing further? Okay. All right, congratulations. We look forward to seeing what comes next. So, all right. All right. And unless there's anything further, I'll adjourn us at 9:16. See you all in August.